Okay, let's call ourselves to order. 6:33, meeting of the West Newbury Board of Selectmen. The first item on the agenda is a letter of commendation to be presented by Police Chief. And before we start, an announcement. The fall special town meeting will occur a week from today, starting at 7 p.m. in the annex. The Finance Committee booklet is available online at the town website. Okay, Chief?
Evening.
Evening.
Hey, Chief. Tonight I've asked just a couple of minutes of the board's time so I can present one of my officers of accommodation. This letter of accommodation is presented this day, October 16th, 2017, to Reserve Officer Kyle Roy of the West Newbury Police Department for his quick and professional actions by arriving to a call for a resident who had overdosed on drugs and was in respiratory failure. Because of his quick actions and his ability to give first aid and to administer a dose of Narcan, Reserve Officer Roy was able to save the life of a woman at the home. He was able to remain calm and professional throughout the entire incident, which prevented any further severe medical issues. The letter of accommodation is to be awarded to Officer Kyle Roy for his display of true professionalism, courage, and commitment to serve the community of West Newbury. This incident happened just about a month ago here, obviously in town. And as you probably remember, Reserve Officer Roy is relatively new. So this was a huge, substantial step for a young officer to obviously take this quantum leap, obviously saving one of our residents. So I thought it was quite appropriate that tonight that Officer Roy would be presented with a citation for his uniform and obviously a certificate of accommodation on his behalf. So I just wanted to make the board aware of that situation.
Terrific.
Okay, so
a very tough situation, and what I heard that he handled it in the most professional manner. And the girl's life was saved because of him, and he was pretty good for a police officer, as the fire rescue people said. He did an awesome job.
Oh, so coming from them, it's obviously that's
My son was on the call. He said you were phenomenal.
So without further ado, I'd like to have Kyle come up. I'd like to congratulate you. Chief, you brought honor onto the police department. Here's your letter of accommodation, and obviously the certificate, and obviously for your uniform is obviously the life-saving letter. So again, thanks very much. I'm very proud of it. Thank you.
Nice job. Great. Next item is hiring of a new part-time dispatch person.
Correct. I think I have a short outline for the board, but I'll read you quickly. I'm requesting the approval of the board to hire a part-time dispatcher. The applicant, Serena Schwartz, is of Plastow. She's a recent graduate of the University of Massachusetts. And while attending the college, she earned a degree this past May in criminal justice. And her, her life ambition is to become full-time employed in the criminal justice field. Currently, she's been working part-time at Market Basket in New Hampshire as an assistant manager. And she had done this while attending, obviously, college and earning a degree. She currently has no formal training in dispatching, but I believe that once she gets trained, she'll be a valuable member of the dispatch team. Is she here? No, she's not.
Art, has she done any kind of, not extracurricular, but like volunteer observing of what's going on, or does she have any idea what she's getting into? I guess that's the question.
Well, I've met with her 3 different times, so as much as we possibly can show her what the job is, until you actually do it, no. So, like I said, she did go to University of Mass and she did get a degree in criminal justice. I think her end game, beyond getting a full-time job in the criminal justice field, is not to become a police officer or dispatcher, but to get into something a little bit deeper, I think research methods and stuff like that, so. From all accounts, from doing her background, that she's a very quick learner, and she's the type of employee that I'd obviously want working for me at the dispatch center.
How's her time availability?
Well, she's out of school now, so she's only working part-time.
Oh, she only works part-time at the other,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
okay.
it's, I guess if she ever gets a full-time job, even though I hope she does in the future get a full-time job, not anytime soon, so obviously we can utilize her. So right now, I'll only be fighting with Market Basket for her time.
Okay.
How
Yes.
long would this appointment be?
I'm
A one-year appointment?
No, June 30th, 2018. Who would be her direct manager?
Yeah, that would be lead dispatcher John Camerata.
I move to appoint Serena Schwartz through June 30th, 2018.
Second.
As a part-time dispatcher.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is the discussion of the disposition of Police Cruiser 302. So initially, the plan had been, when the new vehicles put into service, as per the town meeting vote and instructions from the voters, old vehicles are to be traded in to receive some kind of recompense for it in the best interests of the town. And Chief, you would like to keep this vehicle on for a period of time, or?
Well, a short period of time. What I had discussed with the board a number of months ago, obviously the plan was that we were sending an officer to the police academy, and every time you send a police officer to the academy, you have to send a cruiser with them, not to commute back and forth, but to actually use at the academy during they have a driving component to that. So that car was going to be sent with a previous officer that was supposed to be in the academy. Now, well, that...
So does that get used, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just for clarification, so does that get used by the local person being trained only? In other words, does each municipality send a vehicle for their people only, or how's it work?
The academy, when I went over there for the welcome to ceremony, the director of the police academy, the one that we're planning on sending the next officer to, said that each department is required to send at least one car. If they have 5 people going or 4 people, then they'd have to send probably 2.
Is this a new thing, or?
No.
Have you ever heard of this before, Glenn, or no?
It has to go every day, or does it just have to go during the
No, just during that driving component.
So,
Which lasts how long?
It'll be a 2-week window.
so this is Officer Lindell we're talking about?
Yes.
When is he going to
The
the
next,
academy?
well, Plan A is January, and if I can't get him into the January academy, he's going to go to the next available one, which would be, I think it's early April.
April.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Not counting this vehicle, how many vehicles now do we have in our fleet?
Not counting the one we're talking about, the same that we've had would be 5. We have 4 marked and my unmarked car.
We have, the maximum obviously goes to the top, it goes to the 24 hours, 7 car. So maximum, we have 2 shifts going on,
3 shifts.
3 shifts?
Yeah, days, swings, and midnights.
You said shifts, not cars per shift. You
Yeah,
wanted
I'm
to-
sorry, car
Oh,
per shift. Car
okay.
per shift, but would
2
always be maximum would be 2.
2 per shift,
So then we have 2 here.
correct.
So I think the question is, if we, and yes, we did talk about this before. I think the question though is,
Hold on, can I clarify that? 'Cause I don't remember ever having a conversation that we were gonna use an old vehicle. We could have, but I just wanna make sure that we were gonna use an old vehicle, vehicle 302, I don't ever remember having a conversation that we were gonna use that and not trade it in the way we have been doing for all these years and the way that everybody thought we were going to do at
Well,
town meeting floor.
I mean, let's back up to the previous one and correct me if I misspeak. So we're not talking about 302, we're talking about, what was it, 303? We waited to purchase the new vehicle until 303 was getting ready to be traded in, and it went to the academy. Is that accurate?
No car has gone to any academy yet. The reason why I brought it up is
I
because
saw it in the previous one.
I haven't sent anyone to the academy yet.
Oh, guess not.
The reason why we're keeping the car is because if we don't send a car that we know we're getting rid of, that's going out the door, I'm gonna have to send a brand new car. And when the new cars come back, or a car comes back,
Or an old car.
excuse me?
You said a brand new car. I said
That's why that I had talked about this a while ago. I want to send an old car that we know we're getting rid of right away, because when the car comes back, if I keep the car, if we decide tonight to get rid of this car that's been sitting in the parking lot and use a car, a fully lined car that's used every day, when the car returns, I'm going to have to spend about $1,000 on 4 brand new tires. I'm going to have to put new brakes on it and new rotors, and that's going to cost me about $2,000. If we use a car that's being turned out, that the day it's done at the academy, it's going to be either traded or it's going to be sold outright, as Andy has done for me in the past, then I'm not putting that money back into a car to keep it serviceable.
So I guess the question is why?
This has never, ever come up before. And this should have been all part of the presentation.
That's why I asked Glenn, because Glenn's been here the longest, and we have
Well-
never heard this before.
Well-
You
well-
have to refit a car and it goes through that much wear and tear after it's come back from the academy.
Well, Glenn, I can't comment on what you guys were, what
No,
you
we
guys
just-
were told.
we're learning that. We didn't
I-
know
I-
this,
ma-
yeah.
Maybe I'm a little bit too transparent, but I figured the more you know, the better that you can make decisions. To me, it doesn't make, the car's gonna sit until it goes to the academy. Everything has been stripped out of the car, other than the light bar and the controls to use the light bar, which is a requirement of the
Will
academy.
be or already has? It
Excuse me?
has been stripped?
It's all been stripped out.
Okay.
Other than the light bar.
Okay.
Part of the requirement by the academy
Right.
is, I guess they have some night driving that they do wherever they do it, and they want, obviously, the lights to be on it, so it could be as authentic as it possibly can. Now, if we decide to get rid of the car, yeah, we can get rid of it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to use one of the other cars and spend good money on something that, I guess, to me, is not prudent with our money.
Okay,
So-
a question?
So 2 questions. So the first question is kind of an obvious one. Why did we go ahead with the purchase of a new vehicle?
Why did we?
Yeah.
Because we needed it, because the car that was cannibalized,
Well, I mean, if you're going to use 302, the old 302 at the academy, why did we go ahead and buy the new one? Why did we delay that until 302 came back from the academy?
because I guess I have no control when the cars come in. It takes anywhere to
Well,
2,
somebody orders them.
excuse me?
Somebody placed an order.
No, I never placed an order. I have to take a car that's on the parking lot. I don't order it from Ford or from Chevy. I have to order it from a dealership. So once I say, yes, I'm going to buy the car, then it obviously has to be fitted, which can take anywhere from 2 to 3 months.
Andy, what triggers an order for a car? I mean, they don't just show up on our doorstep, so how does that?
It's not like a car stork.
You go, so it's a Ford, do we go to a?
No, Andy has nothing to do with this.
Oh.
When the town approves whatever the amount of money is, I call the dealership, whatever the dealership that's closest that has the best deal, and I say, I want to buy 2,000, whatever it is. And they'll say, okay, we either have some in stock or it's going to be a while before they come in stock. And then they'll say, I have 30 to 50 other cars that have to get done. When they get done, that's when you'll get it.
So it might come, it might come,
I'm sorry.
There's no state bid list for this?
Well, yes, it is a state bid list, but they don't order 1,000 cars and have them sit in their dealer.
Okay, so if
My problem, okay, I'm sorry, my answer.
I had 2 questions, and I never got my second one.
Sorry.
So if Officer Lindell goes in April to the academy, if he starts in April, right?
Yes.
He doesn't need the car on week 1 or week 2, right?
No.
I believe 301 is scheduled to be replaced at the Springtown meeting.
It's supposed to be, exactly.
I mean, that's what you're,
It's supposed to be.
The money.
wait, can I finish my questions? And then you can have all the time you want. Now I'm messed up.
Yes, we can either keep this car
I
now.
mean, if he's going in April, is this all kind of a moot discussion because he can just take 301?
It's not mute until I have this next car for the next town meeting.
True.
So I guess we could roll the dice, keep the car, and I now know I have a car for when he's ready to go to the academy, or get rid of the car, and I guess hope that what we all agree to is still what we agree to, and there'll be another car ordered, and then there'll be another older car. It just does not make sense to send a frontline car for 2 weeks to have it beaten the tar out of and then brought back.
I agree.
What are the carrying costs of, April is still 6 months from now, so the car's got to be registered. You don't want to keep a car you don't want to not drive it at all for 6 months.
And it has to be insured, and that means it's going to be a year later than so it's a year older, so we're going to get less money for it.
Okay, I don't get this. If we're retiring 301,
I understand that. I want to talk about the concept of it.
well, we should not be ordering a new car. That's the problem here.
No, there isn't.
I don't know if there's a problem or not a problem. This is a situation that is totally new to us and was not told to town meeting when everybody voted for this. It was not part of the FinCom's rationale when they got up and spoke about this. It was not part of any rationale that I know of. That we went in front of the taxpayers and told them that we're going to buy a new police cruiser, and this one was going to get turned in, and the selectmen were going to get as much money as possible back from it. Now we have a whole new twist on it. Now this car is now going to be a year older. We're going to have to keep it insured for that year. Then we're going to get less money on it because the tires are going to be bad and the brakes are all going to have to be done anyways when it goes into auction. Everybody looks at it. So that money is a wash anyways. You're going to get less money for a car if it's true that we have to spend $1,000 on a vehicle when it comes back after this driving school. It's the same thing.
People are gonna if it's obvious that it needs new tires, people are gonna pay less for it. Yeah.
And we have to insure it for another almost year, not year, but 8 months. So whatever. I don't know. What bothers me? So when you say it's the problem with it, I don't want to think that it's a problem. What bothers me is a twist in what we told the taxpayers. Now we're changing it, and that's the thing that bothers me. If this is a program that we want to start, right, we should be all upfront about it in the beginning when we're purchasing a new vehicle and the taxpayers are spending their money.
Can I ask the finance director question? Andy, what would you? Okay, say just it's probably irrelevant, but what would be the difference in that would be achieved by selling the car now versus a car that's 6 months older and maybe has a little bit more wear and tear on it? It's not really going to make much difference because it's already so low end anyway, or not? What do you think?
I don't think it's going to make that much difference, but I agree with the chief. If the car's going to take a considerable amount of beating, then we should probably use an older car.
That's true. I mean, they're both points are true, though. That's the problem.
But anybody can say that. I mean, that's logic. That's like, if you have to drive into Boston every day, you drive a car that has less gas, and when you don't want to get bumped up and hit all the time because it's all going to have it. I don't.
Wait.
I just asked a question.
Yeah. You have to use a microphone. And
No, just come up and just state your name and.
It's for at home. It's not for the
It's
room.
not for us.
This is all recorded.
Greg Jablonski. One question is just obvious to me is, did you know that when the taxpayers, at the time the taxpayers voted on this issue of buying the new cruiser, did you know that you were going to send a guy to the academy?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay, well then, that's the question.
I guess what I'm having the problem with, and maybe I'm just taking this a little personally, this seems like it's being dumped on me that I'm trying to hide something from the board or from the town. I don't know what the board knows prior to my 21 months here. This is something that's gone on for decades and decades in the state, that a car is always sent with the officer. So I guess I'm trying to do the most financially prudent thing for this town. Now, if the three of you want to get rid of that car now and we can roll the dice and take the next car, that's fine. I don't really care one way or the other. But I guess I'm feeling like I'm the one that's getting kicked here for something that you guys don't know, where there's maybe something that you should have known long before my arrival here 21 months ago. So,
That's not the case at all.
okay, no,
And
that's,
and that's the reason why I said, and I made sure that everybody left here and said, this is not a problem, like
No.
you created a problem. I made
No.
sure I said it's not a problem.
well, I appreciate
I'm
that.
just saying that when we went in front of the taxpayers, I don't care about yesterday, I don't care about tomorrow. All I know is about, I went back, I made the motion, right, on town meeting floor to get a new cruiser. And everybody's intention, including the FinCom, they checked with them, everybody's rationale, everybody's thought that this was gonna be disposed of, and the way we're gonna do it is through auction, because trading it in, we don't get the most money for the town. That's all I'm talking about. So if we have a new plan, I wish we had it done there. And I honestly don't believe selling money, doing this, doing that. I bet if everybody, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball, but saving money here, saving money there, I mean, I don't know, but, so when we say this is the first time, I mean, that's a legitimate question for the selectmen to say, wow, this is the first time I've ever heard that when we send a person to the academy, a car gets beaten up so much that we have to spend $1,000 on it when it comes back. I mean, that's good information that you gave me, because I've never heard that before. So we need to start budgeting that now too, because we have to make sure that we're budgeting properly. So we have to make sure that that's a new thing that we have to budget for. So, you know what I mean? When I get new information, a light goes off. Say, okay, this is something I've never talked about. We have to make sure that we budget for this from now on. I don't know. So that's my only problem. I just don't like. And I'm not saying you, it just seems to some people, is it like a bait and switch? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
We were told that this was gonna be $200 million, now all of a sudden we have 6 cars. I'm just telling you what reality is, what people think. I'm not saying it's good or bad.
Yeah, it's an item that the voters are very aware of. They know what an automobile costs, and it's a tangible thing that people can count. And basically the thinking, I think this is the crux of the issue. The voters think, okay, if you need a new cruiser, then the other cruiser must be so lousy, and so we don't want our officers going out. The argument to always get new cruiser is we don't want our officers going out in unsafe vehicles. We want state-of-the-art, safe, good brakes, good everything on the vehicle. So either it's a good vehicle or it isn't. That's sort of the way I look at it.
What does it cost to insure a vehicle annually, give or take?
I'm going by memory, and I may be incorrect, but I think it's about $1,000 a vehicle.
A year?
Yeah.
That's it?
Seems low.
Even for a police vehicle, are they higher, or I don't know.
I'll say automobiles. I mean, if it's an F-350, that might be higher, but
Yeah,
automobiles.
Yeah. Okay.
That's good. So, money is a wash. Why don't we just say that? Can we all just say that?
Yep.
Money, it's a wash. It's not gonna cost just say that. It's not gonna cost the town any more money.
Walk me through it. I gotta think
No,
it
we
through.
have to insure a vehicle, another vehicle until April. There's something, maintenance to it, who knows? Something could go wrong with it. We might even have to fix it, sitting out there. We have to move it, whatever. And then if something happens to one of our newer vehicles that goes to the academy that we have to fix, that's gonna cost us money.
In other words, if you use a newer vehicle, it might cost the same amount of money.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the chief says that it's gonna cost $1,000 for the town, we're just trying to save money. So keeping a vehicle that long, or using a new vehicle, is the same. And I don't know what they do out there, but obviously they must have some defensive driving or whatever they do, that they put some pretty serious stuff on a vehicle.
I would make,
You know what?
no, wait, let me speak.
Okay, sorry.
I would, I think we've gone over this enough. I would make a motion that we go along with the intent of the taxpayers in the motion and sell the vehicle.
I would second that.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The only last thing I have is Gary, Bill, and I have been talking about, that you brought up a couple of weeks ago, Glenn, about the speed limits in town. So we have been working on trying to change some of the different speed limits throughout the town. So I just want to keep the board abreast.
Well, who has the ability to change the speed limit?
Town does,
Town has, so that means the board of selectmen.
correct.
So
Yeah,
As of because of the new law changes,
It was
yes.
kind of a rhetorical question. So I would ask that no one changes any speed limits, but
Well,
any proposals that come, that
I
Gary.
think that's what
and-
he's saying.
That's what he's saying,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. That you'd bring them to us.
That's what I was going to say.
That's what he's saying.
Okay, just
So-
want to make sure. Because we might not agree or not agree, so I would want it to make sure it's pretty comprehensive.
Gary and I, over the next couple of weeks, are going to go
They're
through.
doing the analysis.
Yeah.
Now, are you looking that some speeds could decrease and some speeds could increase, or only some speeds could, are you looking at all just decreasing speeds?
Both.
Excellent.
That's all I have. Thank
More,
you.
more consistency is.
That's what Gary and I are gonna try to do.
Hopeful, yeah.
If, when you're talking to Gary, when you do this proposal, could he come forward with how much it's gonna cost us to change signs and so forth and so on? Because there would have to be a cost that would be attributed to changing things.
I would imagine so.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. So our action is that the vehicle gets taken out of service and put up for auction.
So what is the process, Andy? And what's the quickest process we can get this done? Before winter comes in.
We just surplused 3 trucks, an automobile, and a mower, and through municipal, and it worked very well. So the 3 trucks are gone. We're still waiting for the guy to come pick up the Toyota Camry that's at the police department, and
Oh, that
the
one.
mower's gone too.
The drug stuff.
Yes. I wanted to make sure they were picked up before we did that.
Okay, so
I'll
can you
let you
get
know
that
tomorrow.
one?
Sure.
Can that one get started immediately?
Sure.
Awesome. Thank
Okay. Our next item is a request by Mr. Jablonski to construct a stone wall in front of his house in the town right-of-way. Mr. Jablonski, come on up. First of all, I want to thank you for, informing the board that and the town that you wanted to do this. A lot of people just do stuff and ask questions later, or never.
Especially on a dead-end street that isn't highly traveled.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Well, I didn't want to put up a wall and have to take it down again, so
That's happened before.
I can imagine it might have. I just want to thank the board for taking the time to consider our proposal, and especially Joe for coming out and visiting. I think you've seen the proposal, so our idea is basically to put a stone wall that mirrors what's on the other side of the road. It's not a highly traveled street, and the spot that we proposed for the stone wall just begs for something that looks like the other side of the street. It's not going to be very high. It'll only be maybe 2 feet at the most, and I think that we don't have any other intentions to try to poach land or anything like that, and we were going to take care of that part of the property anyway. So it doesn't matter to us whether it does matter. We'd like to build the wall. We think it'll look great there, but.
So where do you live?
Have either
11 Worths Lane.
have either of you seen this?
No. Which house is that?
It's the old Hobson house.
So Natalie's house?
Yes,
That house is staying upright? Or
part of it is. The rest of it's gone.
the rest of it's already gone?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So, I did go out to look for it, so just to add some clarifying observations. What he's saying is extremely accurate. There is a stone wall on the other side, so it's kind of a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say, yes, it's on the town right-of-way, but it's up a little hill. There's a tree line, and this stone wall is actually in back of the tree line.
You wouldn't mind coming up, would you, sir?
Come up.
You mind coming up? You mind, Mr. Chairman?
No.
So, this is Natalie's. That's the house, right there. Yeah. And so when he mentions the tree line, so is it over here?
Yeah, it's on the other side.
Or this one?
No,
That's the tree
it's
line.
on the other
Outside
side.
So
of
it's
this
about,
tree.
like there, right?
Okay.
Those
Yeah.
trees are way back.
So
The
it's-
Sangorian fence.
Yeah.
This
There's
really
an
doesn't show the
existing
tree line
wall
that well,
back
but
here,
there's actually,
right about there, and this wall would be back of that tree, about 10 to 12 feet off the road. Our property line is up here.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. Can I ask questions about it now?
Go ahead.
Are there any, are you gonna be cutting down any trees at all?
No.
Are there any,
Changing
go ahead.
any drainage or anything like that? And now this wall is gonna go down and then connect to the existing wall that's there?
Well, that wall kind of goes up and over a hill, and it's,
not really.
that's not the intention, I think.
Are you gonna go all the way to the River Road?
Oh, no, there already is a wall that goes from,
It's not very,
That's not their property.
yeah.
yeah, that's right, it's not our
So
property.
you're just gonna stay on the Hobson Lane?
Yep.
And put it in front and mirror the one that's across the street?
Right.
Mike, can I ask one quick question?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to do, like, legal-wise?
I drafted up a license agreement
Mm-hmm.
that basically gives him permission to do it.
Should, if Mr. Jablonski gets approval from the board, should he file that license with the Registry of Deeds?
Yeah, to give notice,
So that-
basically.
That way it's kind of attached to the deed.
Right, well, it's just basically to give notice to basically the world and, future people who buy the property, that they would know that that wall is there by the
Are you gonna be
Permission.
living in the home?
permission of the Board of Selectmen.
Right. So this does not absolve any other permissions which may or may not be needed by other boards such as conservation or inspection or water department?
No.
So I'm just making that statement.
Yeah.
There aren't any that I'm aware of, but I'm just saying that.
This is,
The first guy that I asked was Glenn.
Right, and he'd be the-
He said.
Glenn
talk
Torsi,
to
the
you
building
guys.
inspector, not me.
Right, yeah, he would be the one that would have a comment.
Yeah,
The only other question I have is town water there?
no,
No, okay.
You'd have to get dig safe,
we
obviously.
have a well.
You get
Sorry?
dig set.
You'd have to get dig safe, obviously.
Well, if they're digging anything.
Well, I mean, we're probably gonna go down maybe not even a foot to get the thing started. So-
Whatever the regulations are, the regulations are. They're
Yeah,
very,
if
Sure.
you're gonna do anything, and you're gonna
yeah,
get dig
they're
set.
very explicit, they're very online. We've had some problems with people hitting gas lines
Mhm.
when they didn't call dig safe in town. Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mike another question? Mike, does this have a site plan review?
No.
Sorry, that was just kind of a joke, but not at your expense, but other things that we're doing.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
I'd make a motion that we, for the board to approve the revocable license agreement with the Jablonskis to approve the stone wall as described in this document.
Can I add a friendly amendment to that on condition that this be filed with the Registry of Deeds? That Mr. Jablonski file it with the Registry of Deeds.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion. I haven't read the agreement, but the agreement says that, you know, all the stuff that if it,
Yep.
if it gets pushed over with snowplow, that we're not responsible to fix it.
Yes, it does.
All that kind of
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. It wasn't in my packet. I couldn't. Well, maybe it was. But I didn't see it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
So
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
have him sign the original,
Was
yeah.
it in my packet?
What's that?
Yeah, we had it.
Yeah, we got
You had
one.
it in your packet, or was it, you got it emailed to you?
No, I had it.
No, I have it. It looks like this, Glenn. Agreement, it says on the top.
Never got it. I don't get, I think she was just doing them when you get things online. No, I don't have it. Because I looked for it, and I couldn't find it. It's not here. I thought you were looking at just the master.
I don't know. Angela?
Hi.
Hello, how
Hi.
are you?
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for waiting.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for letting us come.
We're basically, we're trying to get people to do this, and we thank you for, I know it's a pain, but we're trying to somewhat organize, not having a billion signs all over town without,
And I know you,
Information.
and I know you were asking, like, well, why are you, and you said you were confused.
Well, no, I just didn't realize it was such a process. I thought I could just drop the sign off and tell you where I wanted to put it. It wasn't clear what the process was.
You're hitting the beginning of implementing.
Right.
That's-
Well, yeah, I think
that's
that
what
was,
it
there weren't actually rules. It just said you had to have it approved. So I just didn't know the rules. So we're trying to abide by the rules.
One thing I do notice that we're not, the new laws, you can't have white signs with dark lettering.
Really? Are you joking? Of course.
Can I ask the board a general question on signs? We haven't really had the discussion. I know we've had discussion on signs on the training field at nauseam, and I think we're in agreement on that, mainly, with the exception of one.
You sure about that?
I said mainly.
Okay.
What about places like the town square? We haven't really had that discussion.
What is the town
Or-
square? Oh, back here. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
it's
talking
not,
about?
it's
Oh, okay.
not regarding your, I'm
Oh,
asking a
okay.
general.
How much do you want to have this conversation with this young lady waiting for our approval?
yeah, let's
So
not
she can go
talk,
home
let's
to her
not do
family.
this now.
So you tell
Well,
me.
it is germane to her request. I mean,
No,
One
it
thing that's
isn't.
Germane to her request that we have no permission of giving it to her, she should probably know that. So I'm almost positive that one of those is down at Ferry Lane, the bridge, no, that's Bridge Street, yeah, Bridge Street.
No,
and
it's the
Church.
it's that park.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have no-
that's not.
Yeah, we have no control over that. Park and Rec, you have to go to Park and Rec and ask them.
it is because there's I was gonna get to it. There's 3 traffic islands and she's asking for one of them.
Park and Rec one at town
We
meeting.
don't wanna talk about it.
We were gonna,
Okay.
we were gonna put a boat, it's a long story, but we were gonna put a
Right.
boat.
No, that's why I thought the town had control of it because I was at that meeting. Yeah, I live on Church Street, so.
Oh, remember that whole proposal that was
Yes,
there?
I remember.
If we gave that control over that area to Park and Rec. So
Okay.
The selectmen actually have no jurisdiction over there. Like we have no
Oh.
jurisdiction at the Bachelor Street baseball
Yeah.
fields and so forth, even though they were given to the Park and Recs people, that land was donated to them for them to manage for perpetuity. So we actually have no control of that either.
I thought you guys controlled everything. See, I don't know how anything
Well, I
works.
like to think I do, but I really don't.
It doesn't include the right of way on that property?
That's a very good point. The right-of-way is the right-of-way, no
That's
matter
right.
what property it is.
Meaning along the street?
Along the street versus in the baseball
You're right.
area. But
Well, that's
along the
what I was
street, it's
looking
okay.
for. There's one up there now for wrestling or something, and it's a perfect spot where everyone drives past it.
Which
Um,
is illegal. Because they were not.
I
that
know,
wasn't-
I know. I'm trying to be a good
There's gonna be a
citizen.
point when we take them all up.
Hey, if I have to come and do this, then I would want you to take all their signs
Yeah,
out.
that, exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Good
come on.
point.
Yes.
Well,
Okay, so why don't we have a discussion with Jermaine to her?
Yeah.
To her thing.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and
what do
another
you- what do you have a
question-
question?
Well, I was trying to get to the 3 islands. There's the
Three
town square,
islands.
there's one at Stewart Street, and there's one on Garden Street. So do we want signs on them or not?
That's off a blanket statement. So you
Do we want signs there? No, but if they request it and they,
Do we want signs there? Okay, but
Do we-
you
do we-
have to, that has to be a bigger question.
That's what I'm.
Do we want signs there, or do we want agricultural signs there? Do we want these type of signs there? Do you know where I'm
There's-
going with this?
There's certain places that we don't want any signs, such as the training field, right?
Yep.
And I'd add my personal opinion, I'd add the town square to that. So,
But you should have had that conversation. We had all those agricultural people in, because we know for a fact that they put those signs
well, we
there.
grandfathered the one on Garden Street, because he's been doing it
Yeah,
forever.
but we have ones in the square at Christmas time.
yeah, the trees are, tree guys
This is
are
just a new
there.
discussion. It's not a bad
Okay.
discussion, it's just a new discussion. You know what
Okay,
I mean? So that's
I
why
guess I didn't realize there were signs on the traffic island, because I don't go down there that much. I live at the other end of town.
How long are the signs gonna be up?
the latest would be December. If it snows before then, I usually go take them out so they don't get knocked over.
And,
But registration opens November 1st. So it would be nice if we could have them up for a month.
it's the spring lacrosse, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is every year.
Yes. My daughter participated every year. What do you wanna do, Joe?
I'm ready to vote.
You ready to vote?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask one more question? I was told originally, before this ever came up, that we weren't allowed to put them anywhere near the schools. Is that, but they do in all the other towns, so that's why I wanted to ask.
What we need.
Along the road in front of like Pentucket, the high school, middle school,
That's
or,
the school's property. I mean, we
Okay.
can't.
No.
So
I
maybe
guess-
that was a
I
school
guess,
rule.
I guess we could say, I was just gonna say that.
There is a right
The
of
right of
way.
way we
Right.
can.
okay. Maybe it was a school rule, and maybe that's why I was told that when I
Of course,
took over
that's the
this
right of way on
position.
113.
So we could ask the school if we were allowed to do that.
Well, no, because then if that
That's the right
principle,
of way.
if that
No.
principle holds true, then we have no on Bachelor Street, we have no on Ferry Lane, it goes the same thing.
Well, we do
That's
in the
the
right
right
of
of
way.
way.
Yeah, we do in the right of way.
Right, so
Yeah,
we-
but like it's
It gets confusing.
well, if you
We
think
have to
with,
work it out ourselves before we
Yeah.
work it out.
I'm-
Okay, why don't we start doing this? And then we can define it a lot better. We really haven't had any complaints about these type of signs, where they put them, correct?
Yeah.
Right? So as long as we know, this is a good way of knowing, we have a face to the signs, we have a time limit, and they have to be taken down. So, you know what I mean?
that's my, I
mean,
wasn't
that-
gonna be
that's-
fussy about where they
that's-
are as
that's-
long as they get permission. Yeah.
We're just trying to make sure that the ones that aren't like and not, I know you guys have had, or maybe you have been like the sports, I'm not talking about the mattress ones, right? Or the hot tub ones, or we'll clean, and they staple them all over
Right.
town, and it's starting to get a little too much. We're trying to get a little bit of handle on something.
Yeah. Well, in the year we had all that snow. That's why I said if it snows, because they were out there till like February, because I couldn't find them. I couldn't get to them. So if it snows, I'm going to take them down because they cost a lot of
So,
money.
I mean,
So
yeah, so registration is November 1st. When does registration end?
it doesn't really end
Until you
till it's
sign up.
filled. Yeah.
Okay.
Till it's
So
filled.
if
But
we-
that's plenty of time because we'll start.
If we
Sending
say
other
the
stuff.
signs have to be down by December 1st.
I think that's fine.
Fine.
And what is a right of way? Is it a certain distance from the road?
It changes on every single road, but you take the center of the road and you go 20 feet on both sides. What do you go?
Okay.
15 feet, you know, you take the center of the
Right.
road, and it's different on every. Oh, I thought it was, you have to start from the
It's
center.
way more than you think it is.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it depends on the right, but no, it also, it starts in the middle, and you count, middle of the
I
road.
thought
and
that's
goes
what
down.
it was, because I'm a landscape designer.
But the
anyway,
right of way
yeah.
is on the side of the road. But it's,
Okay.
honestly, it is a lot bigger than you think it is. And your bushes and your mailbox and your wall that you built and all that is all in the right of way. Most happen.
Okay. Okay. So we're good?
Okay.
So when you say, well, that's what we're talking about. So we're saying we have. So in front of somebody, we would never do it in front of somebody's house, but in front of things, we have the permission to do it in the right of way.
Okay. And we get permission from whoever lives in the house if we put it in front of their house. So we have
See,
done
now,
that.
if you have somebody that's on Lacrosse that decides to put them in their front lawn on Main Street,
Yeah.
we have no jurisdiction.
That's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
We do that as much as we can, but there's some spots where there just aren't people that are living there. So some of the high traffic areas.
Should I make a motion that we approve this with the caveat that they can go up anytime she wants to after this meeting, but they have to all be down by December 1st, and that we have proper information on how to get a hold of her if that something happens to her signs that we need them down, that we can get a hold of her and she can get them down for some strange reason.
And do I have to come back every year?
Excuse me?
Do I have to come back every year? Do I have to put this on my calendar?
Send an email. Send an email so she doesn't have to come in.
Yeah, we'll send an email. If nothing's changed on your behalf and nothing's changed on our behalf, we'll have you in our database, our signed database. because
I
we
would
have-
just, in your email, I would just reference a reminder that you did come in and that
Okay. Yeah, I would just have done it sooner so we could have.
No,
Yeah.
we have to start some type of database. I don't know if databases sounds too whatever, but we have to start something
Yeah.
We do.
of that. I don't know. Database seems a little bit too serious, but you know, a list. or
A
something.
list.
It's just a list. That's all a database is.
Right, something we need.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
present.
I could tell at 6:30 he was going to vote present on at least one thing. Any more signs tonight?
Lost my,
No.
Lost my
I thought there was
page.
another sign.
We're on that. Number
Okay.
5.
Are you Mr. Costello? Dominica?
Can you just start by just kind of explaining what it is that you want to do?
Sure. We're holding a Halloween party. We're renting out the old town hall and holding it there. We're hiring a bartender, licensed bartender, and because of that, we need to apply for the one-day liquor license for the party. Probably going to be about 60 to 70 attendees at this point. I've spoken with Chief Reed. We'll be getting on the schedule for a police detail. Spoken with Fire Chief Dwyer. Also have a fire detail assigned.
And the time?
7 to 11. We'll set up. Setup will start earlier, but the
Well, you could have a-
bartender is
The event.
cleared to pour drinks at 7
We just want to
o'clock.
know the event. 7 to 11?
7 to 11 and shut it down then. Yep.
And this is just a private party?
Private party, just people we know, pretty much all West Newbury residents by invitation.
That's a lot of cars. Where is everyone going to park?
Well, there's some parking in the back. There's obviously across the street at the library and then the street around the training field. I mean, you're talking about probably 30-ish couples and a lot of people carpools. You're probably talking about
30.
20 cars, maybe as many as 30, but more like a lot of people try to consolidate
I
down
think
just
it's
so they don't have to
15
drive.
in the back, probably 20 in the back, up
Yeah.
the side, down the road.
Yeah,
yeah, because you
I've
got
been-
the side, you got the side too.
we would
I've
have
been to a
know-
party there before, and if people park tightly in the back, you can also park along the side of the building, and then again, there is.
We would ask there to be no parking on Route 113. I don't know
Right.
if the chief's already said that, but.
Yeah, we can direct people across the street. You know, the library's closed at that hour.
What
so
made you think about having it at the town hall?
well, our house is old and I'm worried about my floor caving in. But we've actually been, years ago, friends of ours rented it out, did the same exact thing. I don't know if the requirements were the same back then, but probably about 4 or 5 years ago, they had a big birthday party at the town hall as opposed to using their house. So decided to check that out.
Chief,
You understand that we're in a, we're getting to be in a function business.
I understand that. Chief, do you have any questions or concerns?
Oh, is he still here?
I mean, my concerns were the parking and also, frankly, the neighborhood. I mean, it's a lot of people in a, in a residential area.
Right. Which we have a party at your house. It's in a residential area, so
Understood.
by 11 o'clock we'll
Right,
you know,
but it's
shut
not
it
in
off.
the house, it's in our building.
True. Right.
Do you you gonna have a DJ or Bose or
Just
something?
it'll just be our like
I mean,
you
like
know
a.
personal music system hooked up to
Yeah,
a
yeah,
PA.
You don't need a DJ. With one of those.
We don't have any insurance on file. I wasn't sure exactly what bartending.
Right. I figured after this, if we get approved, we file that with you, the bartending license, the agreement with them and their insurance certificate.
And their insurance.
The insurance required amount is what? What's on here?
Well, it says a liquor liability policy must be provided of 1 million.
Yeah, the bartender service is $5 million.
Yeah,
That's what they're telling.
that's normal, and I was gonna say that generally the services. Who are you using? Boston's Best? or-
Boston's Best, yeah.
Yeah, they're always more than that.
So that would be sufficient.
Yeah, they have over 5 million, and I forget what else. Thing. They're always more than what our things are.
You know, I mean, my only comments are don't disturb the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's why
What-
I figured
what we would
11 o'clock would be the shutdown,
Right.
so we don't
Yeah,
go.
but shut down at 11, like everybody's coming out. Just kind
Right.
of be respect. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if it was in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We ask that. You're not unique. We ask that of everybody.
I
Even
believe-
if there's birthday parties over here, young kids' birthday parties at nighttime or whatever, because we do have over 55 and
Right.
that live back here. So we just ask them to be quiet when they're leaving and so forth and so on.
Not a problem.
I move to approve the one-day liquor license and use of the Old Town Hall for Mr. and Mrs. Costello for October 28th for an event that lasts from 7 to 11.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, sir.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's a $50 fee for it.
What? It's really the school. Did you change this from the school to a broader discussion?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Which one?
But
Finance committee strategy discussion on
No,
free cash?
item 6. When I had originally requested it, it was to talk about the school capital plan, but Mr. Archibald wants to talk about some
No,
other
6
things.
is.
no, but all related.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess my perception is we're going to have that discussion with the finance committee. but
Okay.
We'll talk now. You mind if I start with the school building?
No,
And
go
then-
ahead.
And then, so I've got a little bit to say here. So if I'm not making sense or not following, just stop me. So my comments are that I think our taxes are high compared to other towns. And we've been working very hard to keep them in check, and I think we've started to accomplish that. So I think our overriding objective should be to pay our fair share of the building costs with the smallest tax increase possible. Would you agree with that, or?
No, I mean, how can you object to that? Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
I want to pay our fair share.
I want to pay
anything.
more.
with the smallest,
Yeah.
Whatever, just.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't know any costs, okay, because the building hasn't been designed. So anybody that throws out numbers would be very premature and without basis. I think somebody in the audience did last time, but that's not, I don't think that's fruitful. So the purpose of tonight is to talk about funding strategies. In other words, where the money would come from, when, how it could be potentially applied. So this is not a willy-nilly approach to funding the potential school project. It's a thoughtful, thought-out strategy. Okay, so that's kind of my background. We already established that we're using dollars from retired debt to fund the stabilization fund that we created a couple of years ago. That will increase up to $684,000 6 years from now. That's where it caps out. That's where all debt is retired. Okay, it's at like three something now, I believe. So if you look at a payment for a school, it's not like a home mortgage. A home mortgage is steady over time. This starts out high and it reduces. Okay, so we've got a big chunk to pay at, let's just say, and we don't know the costs, but a big chunk to pay in the first 10, 12 years. So if we can take a haircut, so to speak, off of that to flatten those first 10 or 12 years, and then, so let's say the first 10, I'll just take a round number, starting at 100, and then in year 10 it's down to 80, whatever the number is. So if we can take that 20 and not have to have any increases for that. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we did that, somewhere in year, let's say 10 to 14, the entire payment could be covered by the 684 and whatever extra amount, if it's an override or whatever it is. I mean, that would depend on what the school cost is. So we should use both our free cash, I think, and stabilization that we bank to lower those initial year costs. I mean, finance committees come in and then they're correct that we have a high amount of free cash. The free cash was just recently certified again at $1.8 something million.
Oh, that's correct.
That just came in last week.
Gave it to me after.
Just came in this morning.
It just came in this morning.
1.8?
Mm-hmm.
1.8 something, yes. So, I mean, I guess we really can't have this conversation until we know real numbers from Pentucket, but I mean, we could prepay $1 to $2 million, or we could just take that entire amount and take that off the first 10 to 12 years that I was talking about. Like, I don't think we can really have that discussion until we get numbers from them.
Well, let's ask Andy about that. So my thought, Andy, is instead of us, say the bond is, instead of us banking money and using it to pay the
Bond.
to pay the bond,
Why not? You can get
why don't we just prepay and have a lower, just have a lower note that we have to pay going forward, so we're not paying any interest fee.
I'm not sure how the agreement's written. That might work out where everybody benefits from that, all three communities, opposed to just West Newbury. So
We were able to do, what was it, the roof of the middle school? We were able to do that on one
Mike?
thing. I can't remember which one what it was.
There was a recent amendment to the regional agreement which allows each community to prepay any
Oh, okay, I
debt
didn't know that.
coming into the town, and we used it previously.
What about the school building authority?
I mean, the school building authority, I mean, they don't care where
They
we
don't
get the
care.
money.
So just say it costs $10 to build the school.
But it would,
and it's $5 for the district, and then whatever our portion is, we just have to approve our portion of the debt. They don't care
Right.
how we do
yeah,
it. but
and
we have to
the
pay it.
other advantage is actually, Andy is correct in saying that it could be advantage to the district in general, because if they get a kitty of money up front.
It lowers theirs also.
Oh, no, it lowers theirs, but also it delays the time that they have to put out for bond, because they have the money to be able to pay some of the initial expenses. And so by doing that, you're able to actually delay the time. when
Oh,
you
they
to
don't
start
have to borrow so early either.
Right.
Okay.
But some people like to borrow early because the interest rates are good now.
That's true.
And then because our first payment's probably not gonna be due until 2021, 2022. We could be in a Carter administration by then, when we're paying 12%.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Joe, there's
Yeah.
one question I had. When you use that $600,000 number, did you include the debt service for the Dunn Farm?
I'll have to go back and look.
Because,
You know what we need to do?
think so.
because just the point is that debt service is being paid out of the
I think not, but I'll
Of the
double
grant.
check.
of the grant. So
We're
you don't
really
wanna-
not paying it,
We're not.
So we're really not paying it.
essentially, yeah.
Appropriated
I know.
I think not, but I'll double check.
Why don't we do this? Joe, can we just talk about concepts?
That's what we're doing, yeah.
Instead of putting numbers on things, you know what I mean? Because then we'll start.
There are no numbers.
You know, like the debt of 600 or whatever.
Oh, well,
You know what I mean?
our money, yeah, we know our money. We don't know what the
I know,
debt
but you know
is.
what I mean? Let's
Yep.
just like get down a concept of what we want to do,
Yep.
and then because we'll get stuck on numbers, and then.
Yeah, but just to answer what Archie said, though, I mean, I'm personally okay either way, whatever the numbers say at the time, because, I mean, it depends on what the interest rates are at the time. I mean, it depends, whatever
So
is to
you're-
our advantage.
So your concept, basically, what you're saying is, so
I'm saying to continue the path that we've already
What we've already done, maybe
with the
even
stabilization.
up it, yeah.
I'm saying we should have about $1 million or $1.2 million, depending on where it comes out, of
So-
free cash added
do you
to it.
think okay, so I plan on having a discussion tonight about that,
About what?
what you're talking about.
The school.
The school,
Yeah.
how we're gonna pay that,
Yep.
or, you know, start a conversation, I would probably say about that.
Mhm.
And then have another conversation on our whole free cash stabilization strategies, so forth and so on going forward. Okay? Do you think it would be advantageous to have a working group of a small committee of finance, with the finance committee and a selectman, like 2 people on the finance committee, 1 selectman, coming up with a way of paying the school down? Coming up with something, then coming back, trying to get a consensus?
I don't know what there is I mean, I'd wait till we have numbers. I mean, what we're doing is talking about potential strategies until we get numbers.
So you're saying that we're not going to do anything with the free cash until we get numbers?
No, I mean,
Because
the
then
fi-
that-
the
that
fi-
is moving
the-
forward
The
then.
finance committee made a recommendation to move $500,000 of free cash to the school stabilization.
No, that was my recommendation.
Oh, I thought it was
That was
Forbes.
my recommendation.
Oh.
Remember, I'm the
You
one.
made a motion. I thought Forbes made
No,
it. Whatever.
I was one I was just trying to get somewhere with that. I was just trying to get somewhere that night.
Okay. So what was the question?
No, so before we do anything, shouldn't we have a strategy in place?
Yeah, I think we're
So
gonna.
anything means anything. That means don't do anything more with stabilization after fall town meeting. That means nothing.
I think we'll need at least $1 million worth of free cash. I mean, we could debate a future amount for the spring, but I think
Not $1
there's-
million worth of free, you mean $1 million in the stabilization cap?
$1
account
million
for the school.
from free cash into the stabilization. We're taking $500,000 if town meeting approves it now,
So $500,000 more.
potentially, yeah. Yep. I mean, that solves the finance committee's concern that we have too much free cash, and it gives it's a way of also giving it back to the taxpayers. Maybe not how one person suggested it, but it is giving it back because it's reducing what the potential override would be.
Well, it isn't really, I would totally disagree that, I mean, you can't say it's giving it back.
Why?
Because you're not giving it back, you're gonna spend it.
Well, we're going to spend it on the school so that we don't have to charge more. We'll charge, we'll tax.
No, but you're still, you're not giving it back. We can't, that's like completely messing with the language. We're literally, we've already taxed the people. This is money that came from taxes. We're not giving it back, we're keeping it, and we're gonna spend it. It's not, but it isn't giving it back.
Okay.
We're spending it on something that they didn't approve it to be spent on.
Well, no, they would vote on it.
Yeah, but
Town meeting-
but we're
town
not
meeting-
giving
town
it,
meeting-
yeah,
town meeting
okay.
we're
would
not-
vote on it.
Yeah, but we're still not giving it back. So,
Okay, so we would be, maybe I misspoke, that we would be taxing the school less, and that was in my mind, giving it back.
But
We're not
it
taxing
already
the
is,
school any less.
it already has been
We're
taxed.
taxing the school the exact same,
The
but we're just
increase-
taking the revenues from different places.
The
That-
increase for the school would be less.
No.
Yeah.
That's
Future-
true.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
true.
But you have to say more than that. Future taxation will
be
be
less.
less.
That's-
You have to
that's
say
what I'm
more.
trying to
Yeah,
say.
you have to say more. Future taxation will be less because we've already taxed you on money that we didn't need, and we're keeping it in an account, and we're going to transfer the account to offset potential taxation on building a new high school.
That is what I'm trying to say, and in the very near future, we're talking about potentially fiscal 2021.
Okay, and now, I'm the devil's advocate in the crowd. It doesn't pass. What are you going to do with the money?
Give it back.
One lump sum, you're going to give it back to reduce the tax rate.
We'd have to figure out.
Oh, you mean the school doesn't pass?
If the school doesn't pass.
Oh.
If the school doesn't pass and they don't.
Good question.
And Pentucket does not figure out a plan B, okay, so if they do zero, then we do have to figure out a way to give it back.
Because there are different plans. I mean, the MSPCA, the Mass Building, I'm thinking of Nevins Farm, a Mass School Building Authority.
Yeah, I realize that.
They make you, new build, retrofit,
Yep.
just high school with no middle school. So there's actually going to be 6 alternatives to this.
I leave it into their capable hands to figure out what it is and what it'll cost.
Mm-hmm.
My comment is, based on what we have right now, this school stabilization fund, and based on $1 million of free cash, we could probably absorb about 85, as the town of West Newbury, about an $85 million school project before we would need an override. So that's kind of our break point of where taxes would go up higher, which would probably be the case.
Mm-hmm. And can you stop calling it free cash? Can you call it the free cash stabilization school account? You keep on saying we're going to need free cash. So are you saying the money that we have in the stabilization account now?
This would be in addition to that,
we need
Glenn.
$1 million, which $500,000 is proposed for this spring town meeting.
Yep.
And we need another $500,000, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that would bring our free cash in line. It would be about 6% of our operating budget then, if we did that.
I'm not sure what the percentage is.
Well, if everything passes 6% with the 502, so $1 million out of there.
Yeah, $1 million. With $1 million.
I think that's right. I'm doing the numbers in my head.
7% is 1 point on the operating budget.
That does not include additional.
On the operating budget.
Any
on
other
the
spending,
total operating budget, yes.
Yep. So that would be, it's a 14 something, and 7% would be like 1,100, so 6% would be like 900, around 800 to 900.
Joe, with the 500 plus 500, and the continuing, in addition to the continuing use of the debt.
Yep.
So we're talking about salting away.
It's a lot of money.
No, but how much we're salting away would be. That's the one thing I can't sort of figure out in your chart here. How much are we salting away?
When? By when?
If you put 500 plus an additional 500.
As of this year, or what year are you talking about?
As of 2021.
I'd have to get it.
See, how much are we putting away?
Yeah, I'd have to get you an exact number, but a round number, maybe
Yeah.
$2.5 million.
2.5?
By that point.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah, we understand that. So how much do we have in there now? Do you know?
437, I believe, is the number.
So if everything goes the way we want it to go, we'll have $900,000 in spring.
936, yes.
Yeah, and then you put another, just say hypothetically, put another 500 in, fall,
Plus,
and then we
plus the 315 from the we would have done anyway. So it's 315 plus 500. So it'd be 1.8 million. Every year when we have that article, it's up. This year it was at 279,000. Next year it'll be 315,000. That's in the spring? Yeah, the annual town meeting.
Off of raise and appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah, the retired debt, that number.
Yeah. So you just add, so it's 1.4 million, Archie? And then you just add then that's all the money, the influx of money you're gonna get other than retired debt. And you should just add the retired debt every single year. So if it's 14 million, so if it's 9 million, by next spring with the 315 and the 500, it'll be up to like 1.8 million.
Well, by the time we would have to start paying, it'll be north of 3 million. But we'll have to make $1 million payment or north of $1 million
I don't
payment.
care. He wanted to know how much it's
Yeah.
going to be. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. You just
That's-
add the
Yep.
you add the debt every year. I mean the fixed amount. I mean the big influxes is the 400,000 we already have in there, and just say with his thing $1 million. So you're at 1.4. You're at 1.4. Next spring with the 315, you're at 1.8. Just say, and then whatever that is every spring.
Yep.
Okay, that's a way. Can we end that conversation?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so can we make some let's see.
No.
Can I say it first?
Okay.
Can we continue, do we agree to continue to fund the stabilization with retiring debt? What we've already been doing?
I think that's too early because we don't have to make that decision until next spring. Or make that decision in January. I'm not saying no. I mean that was our whole thing, but this is more of a conceptual thing. I don't want to pick everything. I don't want to pick everything apart and say, hey, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. I think we're doing it, and I think we need to talk. You don't want to have any talk with the finance committee on this.
Oh no, I do.
Okay.
I'm just saying you said about a month ago, we as a board have not talked about this and had an agreement. So that's what I'm trying to do, to have a discussion and agreement as a board.
But I think we should talk conceptually and maybe in the next month decide how.
Well, conceptually, I mean, okay, if I'll phrase it that way then. I mean, the two concepts that I would advocate for are continuing to do what we've already established by funding the stabilization with retiring debt, and then figure out an additional amount from free cash to transfer into the stabilization fund, and that'll be the maximum of free cash that we would put in there. Whatever that amount is, 500,000. I'm just saying 500. It could be whatever. What's your thoughts?
Okay, I'm just again playing devil's advocate. What other than the smaller amount of interest that we can, the small amount of interest that we can earn by locking up the 500,000 in this stabilization account, what is the difference between that and
Free cash.
maintaining flexibility with it, with keeping by keeping free cash maybe a little higher than we like it, but we know we're going to have to shell out at a certain point. I'm just.
Doesn't matter to me. I mean,
I don't know. I'm just.
Well, hold
there
on.
a place-
Want me to answer that question?
Is there
Yeah.
a place we would earn more money? How would we maximize the returns?
In stabilization because they invest the money.
Yeah, but it's somewhat short term or medium term, so we're limited as far as where we can invest it. We
We're-
can't put it in the stock market.
We're
like we can
talking.
OPEB.
We're talking like 2022.
They make minimal amount of money. It's other fees and stuff that you have to do, so it might even be a break even. I don't know. 1%, 2%, 3%.
We
Probably
could
looking
certainly.
around 1% right now, maybe 1.5%.
I would think we could get 1.5. Yeah.
Okay.
The Fed is probably going to raise interest rates in December, probably another quarter point.
Do you want me to answer your question?
Yeah.
Then you have competing articles for other people in town to spend that free cash money. then we would, if that money is not quote-unquote in a secured stabilization account, and you have $500,000 in stuff, you could have departments coming and saying,
If somebody wants to buy a truck,
we
or if
need
they
the
want to
building,
buy,
we need the building painted, I need $125,000 out of free cash. We're gonna save that for,
right, if somebody wants to buy a piece of
I know
property.
that. But it,
So that's the
it,
downfall of it.
it does, exactly, it does provide a little more flexibility in the case of a, you know, some kind of financial emergency for the town.
But you have $800,000 or $900,000 left in that account for those types of emergencies.
And we're gonna have to start spending this in approximately the year 2020, fiscal year 2021.
It's not that far off.
It's pretty
But
close.
you still remember, it's not like we're taking it down to zero. If we had an emergency. So, okay, so can we end this conversation? I think the other conversations are more important.
What's that?
The other strategies about free cash and stabilization
Oh,
that we want to talk about before they come in.
oh, go ahead. I don't know what you want to talk about.
Well, no, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, okay, so we have this free cash that all three of us have been complaining about for an extended period of time. That is too much.
Yep.
So what are we going to do about it on a long-term effort? So we have we have $1.8 million that just got certified. If I'm not mistaken, of overestimated receipts and turnbacks, we got $700,000 from. Is it around $700,000 that we got from fiscal year 2017 from turnbacks and
I think it's a little lower than that. I think it's around 6.
From a financial principle point of view, if you expend free cash, I know a former finance director said not to spend free cash on your operating budget, but you generally against like capital projects or?
Yes. Capital items, one-time.
Well, I don't understand your point. I'm trying to come up with a system or a philosophy, like you, on making sure this doesn't
Happen again?
Mm-hmm. So you know how we all said we tried to spend it down. Remember one year, then we said, "Oh my God, how come it's so much?" After we closed our books in 2017, our department heads and whomever on that budget turned back $400,000.
I understand.
And we projected for new revenue of $900,000, and it came in at $1.something million.
And we were all surprised.
Right?
Yep.
No, these are real numbers, around real numbers from.
And we were all surprised.
2017. So we have almost $700,000 that go directly to free cash. So it's just a recurring problem.
Well,
So what are we going to do about that? That's the real. Okay.
no, but
You understand what I mean by that?
It isn't. We are using it, Glenn. Otherwise the free cash would be.
Okay.
Hear me
I
out. Hear me
understand
out.
that.
Wait a second. The amount was in 13 was 1.8. Then it went down to 2015. The certification date of 7/14. I'm sorry, 7/1/14 is 1.7. Then up to 1.96, and then now 1.9, and this year 1.8. So it isn't like we have been spending it. It hasn't been going up. Is all.
It's the point you're making.
It's pretty level.
Right.
It's fluctuated 100,000, but we have used the money. So I don't think that we're not underestimating our revenue. We're underestimating it. I guess you could say the same amount each year.
And spending it. So that we
yeah.
have a kind of a
We're
flat free cash
flat. When
So
And if we
I
take-
understand
and if
all
we
that,
take
but
a
is that the
million-
way you want to run the town?
If we take $1 million out, okay, then we're within the ranges of what the finance committee has said to us, which is 5 to 7% of the town operating budget. So I think we're within strategy then. And then based on what
how are we going
But
to
then it's-
strategy? How are we going to keep within strategy? we're going to spend it up again and then find articles to spend it down? Or
No,
we-
it's not
That's
gonna
not
go
what
up,
Archie's saying.
Glenn.
That's not what Archie's
It's
saying.
level. And so if we took $1 million out of here, it would, and we spend a little bit on a dump truck or something, it's going to stay level. It's,
Okay, hold on for 1 second, please. Okay? Listen.
He's right.
Okay, so, what level do you want?
Between 5 and 7%.
Okay, so you're guaranteeing me, okay, that forget guaranteeing. So you're conceptually saying that we take $500,000 in this spring, $500,000 in the fall. We bring our free cash down to just for argument's sake, $800,000.
right.
Okay, and now that's in the level that we kind of all want it to be, and we've been thriving for that. And then when our free cash is certified next fall, a year from now, it will still be at $800,000.
It will be close if we use,
Okay,
no,
now-
wait a second. If we, remember, we did use some, we bought the breathing apparatus, for example, for the fire department.
It won't, hold on. It won't stay that at $800,000 unless we spend some of it to bring it down to $800,000. That's what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay, I get all of that. I
Okay,
get all of
but
that.
we've been doing it pretty levelly
That's
for
been happening
several
very
years.
consistently.
It's amazingly level.
Okay, and then my concept is that the way you want to run the town? That's what I'm saying. Do you want?
If
do
you're
you
within
want,
strategy of 5 to 7%, yes.
okay, so you wanna keep it within 5 and 7%.
Yep.
With no caveats, and then the Board of Selectmen will decide which articles to fund to keep it within that range. That's what you're basically saying. The only way you can
I'm
keep
not
it,
talking in absolutes, no.
No. But the only way you can keep it in that range, the only way you can keep it in that range is if you have articles to spend money to keep it in that range.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. We're talking about free cash, which is a very, albeit a big thing, it's a very finite thing. There are many other financial policies that need to be talked about, not just free cash. Okay, and we also need to talk about our stabilization fund.
So, if we're not talking about free cash, I don't want to talk about anything else. I'll just leave, and you guys can talk about it because we're not talking about the whole picture. I mean, I was hoping that we would have a good conversation.
That's what I'm saying, that we're not talking about the whole picture. That's what I just said.
I want to see if we're having a good conversation about truly how much it costs to run this town. Right now, we have no clue how much it really costs to run this town. Because we don't have a good.
I would beg to differ on that statement.
No. On the tax base, okay?
I would.
So.
I don't agree. I think
Okay,
we have
so-
a very good
so-
idea of where we're
Okay,
spending
so-
our money.
Okay. Oh, no. I didn't say how we're spending our money. So do you want to run the town on our tax base? A true understanding of our tax base and get stabilization back on the tax roll, get stuff, and so we can stop spending money on articles on how we run this town on free cash?
Yeah, I was just going to get to the whole capital thing. We had a meeting last week of the investment committee, and the committee cannot optimize our investments because we don't know time horizons of how much capital will be needed when. So we have to get that capital improvements in line. And I think that is a much bigger issue than free cash. I think they're both big issues, but I think
it's both the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we should not be paying, right? We should not be paying out of free cash.
I agree.
How to paint this building.
I agree.
Because that means we truly don't know. We're not truly telling the taxpayers through our budget how much it costs to run this town. That's how we should have said it. So we're not being honest to the taxpayers about saying how much it really costs every year to run this town. Because
I don't think we're not being honest.
I don't know. I don't know what
I
you're
don't agree
talking
with that at
about,
all.
Glenn. No.
So without a true capital plan, right? Is it a yes or no? Without a true capital plan, we have no clue what to save for or how much to put in our operating budget to save to be able to run this town efficiently.
We have that.
Okay, so then we have we'll have an amount for Springtown meeting, right? So we don't have to have any articles for breathing apparatus, no articles for painting, no articles for trucks, no articles for police, no articles for whatever. We'll bring down free cash with Joe's plan, a good plan, to $800,000, right? And make sure it stays there, right? And doesn't move, and not use any other free cash that comes in that in
But then it
future
will
years
go up, Glenn.
without a bylaw, without giving it back to the taxpayers. That's what I was trying to get at. So
But you can't budget to within the 50 cents to know that
That's not realistic.
it's
What's not realistic?
What you
Let me
just said.
finish, Glenn.
Yeah,
You've
no,
had
go.
your piece. Wait a second.
Yeah.
It's impossible to budget to know that there's going to be 1.5 new growth, and that a certain department is going to underspend their budget by $6.37. You can't budget it that close. You always have to
Which I
be
agree.
conservative
I agree
with
with
your
you.
new growth.
I think Mike Bertino's way of the $9,000, that's a rolling average. That's a rolling average. What is it? It's a rolling average of the last 5 years of 90%. So when we do a budget, like our last budget was $900,000. That was 90% of the rolling average of 5 years of new revenue. I would agree with that. You didn't let me finish the sentence. I'm not asking to do it with Springtown meeting. So we need to budget and do our revenue projections the same way, because when we're doing it, obviously we don't know what the new revenue is. We don't know if everybody's going to have, buy new cars and all that. And so we need to reconcile that at fall town meeting. Go the way about our budgeting the same way. Without a doubt.
Reconcile what at fall town meeting?
My point about we want to keep free cash at $800,000, just say for argument's sake, right? How are we going to do that? One way is to spend it on articles, what Archie said, breathing apparatus or painting the building maybe, or something like that, or truly giving it back to the taxpayers.
Giving what back?
The underestimates and the over revenue.
Okay,
You don't increase.
You can't do that unless you have a working capital plan, which we do not have.
That's what I said in the beginning.
But we don't have that.
We have all the numbers.
but
We
what I
have
mean-
the best estimates.
It's not funded. That's what I meant by working capital.
And that's my point about it needs to be funded. It has to be truly funded in our operating budget so the people understand
I agree with
exactly what it costs to run the town.
I agree.
That's my point.
I agree with you.
That's my point.
Okay, well
I
then taxes are going to go up.
Taxes are going to go way up based on what you just said.
Yeah. They're
Well,
going
hold
to,
on.
Glenn, they're going to go up.
They're gonna
and they're going to
balloon.
go up in the spring, and then you're going to give it back to them in the fall.
No.
It's exactly what you're gonna do.
No.
What are you going to do then?
Absolutely no.
Then
Absolutely not.
explain it.
They're going to go up anyway. We
Why?
haven't been doing, listen, we've been taxing our people correctly, right? And not using all their money, right or wrong.
Yeah, because we have 1.8
No,
million.
right or wrong. And then we've been spending that money on saving for the paid schools so the taxes don't have to go up, breathing apparatuses, trucks, police.
We still have to buy the breathing apparatus.
I understand.
I don't think you
understand.
do. Where do you think that money comes
It
from?
comes from free cash because we've overtaxed our individuals in town, and we have this slush full of money called free cash
Glenn.
that we're able to get.
So, okay, we give all the free cash back, then you have to get $240,000 to buy this breathing apparatus. Where are you going to get that?
All the free cash is going to go back under Joe's plan. I want to know how we're going to keep it there. So under your plan, it's worse because you don't know how much free cash is going to come in there every year. So if you want to plan for the future and use that money for capital expenses, you have no clue how much the department heads are going to turn in. You don't know a clue how much estimated we did the revenues. I mean, we have a guess because we have a rolling average of 5 years, but you don't know.
I wouldn't say we don't have a clue. We get a quarterly report, and we can get it monthly on how money is spent and what money
So
is
that's
left.
how.
I would beg to differ that we don't have a
So
clue.
you want to plan for future purchases and running the town through rollbacks from the department heads and underestimated of revenue. That's what you're saying. It's one way or the other. You want to put it on the tax roll, or you want to do that? How else are you going to pay for it? Explain that. You keep on laughing, Joe, and you keep on smiling.
I'm not understanding what you're saying, that's why.
Joe, it's simple, right?
Yeah.
We have free cash, correctly? We have an abundance of it. Why? Because we've overtaxed the individuals in our town, mostly, and then we've got an influx from the waste calibrator thing, and, you know, there's a few of those. But it's predominantly from...
That was 10 years ago.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's predominantly from... I said that so people don't say, well, it's not always from that. It's predominantly from underestimating our revenues and the turn back from our department heads, correct? What else? No?
Well, to Archie's point, it's been at the 1.6 to 1.9, or whatever the numbers are.
You can't answer the question. You don't want to say yes to that because it's a true statement.
But that's the way it is in every town. That's a fact.
Okay, so I understand that. I'm not arguing that fact, and I'm glad that we have the money now because now we can, that the people are, okay. So we want to bring it down, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's bring it down. How are we, so I'm arguing with you guys or discussing.
I think we figured out how we're going to bring it down.
No. I got that.
Okay.
The whole discussion is about how are we going to keep it down. So come up with a plan on how we're going to keep it down.
If we continue to run the town as we've had, it will stay in that range. It's stayed in that range for the last 5 years. He just read the numbers.
Okay, so you're going to guarantee me that future selectmen, okay, are going to spend down these articles or spend down the money. So any money over $800,000, we have to spend it down on something for the town, obviously, right? So that's all my discussion is about. I agree with you. I'm in total agreement with
So
that.
how, let me ask a question then, based on what you just said.
Yep.
Where are you going to get the money for that to fund?
It has to be in
300.
tax. It has to
So you're
be.
going to raise taxes $300,000?
It has to be in it. We've been fighting, okay, for this stabilization account to be in there. We've had the luxury of not increasing it and telling the people a true understanding of how much it runs the town. Okay.
I have
Right?
a suggestion. I think
Right, but you understand by that, right?
Yes,
Right. We've had the luxury of having this money, right?
Yes. Yep.
But we took that out of there in tough times, right? When you guys were on the finance committee and I was a selectman, we took that stabilization out of there, of the line items, so we, in tough times when our revenues were down and so forth.
That's
and so
correct.
on,
That's correct.
Right? It was always fully funded in an omnibus budget. So I'm just trying to say we need to get back there because
I
all
agree.
kidding aside,
I agree.
that is a
But let me give you one caveat on that.
Yeah.
There were way few in the good old days. There were way fewer items on the capital plan.
and there were a lot less money.
Exactly. But a lot of things now were actually much more organized in terms of what's on there versus what used. A lot of things were off the books,
Yeah, but don't
and
you-
so those were funded by free cash anyway.
But don't you think we owe it, right? All kidding aside, to the town to really have a true understanding of how much it really costs to run this town?
We do.
No, we don't. Joe, okay. What happens, okay, hold on. What happens, I don't know if this is your scenario, what happens, right, when the department heads spend all their money and revenues don't go up? So free
Department
cash.
heads spend their money, revenues don't go up, okay?
Yep, right?
So we're flat, okay.
So you're flat.
Yeah.
But we need breathing apparatus in the building needs to be painted. But before, we had an excess of free cash, so like you said, you're right, it's always being spent, right? It's not like, you know what I mean, it's always being spent, so what do? And we haven't fully funded our stabilization
Well,
account.
Can I answer the
okay,
question?
I'll tell
Sure.
you what the stabilization account is doing at the moment.
And when you're done, can I answer his
Okay.
question?
At the moment, there's 1.5 M with $1 million in there, and so it's not
sorry, I
like
didn't understand
there's
that.
1.5 million in the stabilization.
1.5 million in there?
Yes,
Yeah,
so
the
it's
pro- the
not.
pro- The problem is there's no contributions from the tax rate into it. That's the problem. But you're right, there's 1.5 million.
Okay,
That's a lot
and-
that's
and-
a lot of money.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Well, no,
yeah.
it's not a lot of money. I mean, it is a lot of money, but it depends on what that schedule says, if it's a lot of money or not. That could be burned up quick, depending on the schedule.
Okay, can I answer your question,
Yeah.
what my suggestion is?
Yep.
We need a capital plan, okay? I don't
Yep.
mean that we need a capital, we have the numbers.
Mhm.
We need to better vet, and I'm saying this, and you can correct me, because you're on the capital, on that committee, but I think we need to better vet that. Like, do we really need all of those things? And do we?
This is, I would say, a worst case scenario.
Right, so what is a accurate scenario?
It's really hard to, you know that it's
see, but
really
my
hard
point
to
about-
get good information. It's
It's
impossible.
horrible. I agree with you. I don't have the patience to do that. But guys,
That's what we get
if
paid to do.
nothing else tonight, right? Just think about the concept. All three of us, for the last 2 and something years, or maybe 3 years, have been saying our free cash is too high. Okay? And we've been saying we want to bring it down. Okay? And I like your plan, Joe. And we're gonna bring it down.
You're talking about the school thing.
Yep, I like your plan. Okay? We're gonna bring it down to $800,000. I want it, before we come up with a capital plan or we come up with any plan, I want to know how we're going to keep it there.
Okay, now can I
Okay.
answer?
That's fair, right?
Can I answer?
Yep.
And I don't mean to say this like I'm taking it out of the hands of the Capital Improvements Committee, so just hear me out. We should give to the Finance Committee to vet this and make projections going in the out years, because I think the Capital Improvements Committee, they look at this year, they evaluate this year. They don't really do a lot of work on future years and challenge, should this be in 2021, should it be in 2024?
It's only as good as what
Is
the
the plan.
department heads give us.
Well, we
and
have to force
we
better
don't ha-
information.
We don't.
Do they do an analysis of saying, okay, we have a capital improvement schedule, and this is how much we have to fund it in the next 10 years to make sure we stay true to it?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
How
it's
much
not,
is that?
it's not,
but
I wouldn't
Okay.
place
I
any
wouldn't
bet.
stake my life on the numbers.
Exactly, so and this has been a challenge for us over the last few years. So what I would like to propose is to give this to the Finance Committee to vet future years with the department heads, give us good projections so that we know what the capital replacement schedule is going to be, what amounts in what years. I mean, that's a big, we can't even, like I said before, we can't even invest our, do our investments because we don't know this. So give them this to do, come back and talk about it, and then hand it back to the Capital Improvements Committee.
So I just want to.
Can't hurt, right?
I just want to give you personal, my take on it. For example, just to pick and I'm not
Whatever.
singling them out
Whatever,
at all.
pick one.
But in terms of, okay, is this fire truck, is it going to be next year or the year after that? And oftentimes the department head doesn't really know. They say, well, it's been doing good. Maybe we get another couple of years. It's a very inexact science, but it's about hundreds of thousands of dollars at the same time. It's very difficult to the department head. They don't want to waste $300,000 on something that might be better, that might work another 3
No,
years.
Gary's done that for us too. You know, he's had dump trucks on the capital improvements. And he goes, guys, I can get another couple of years out of it. You had to.
So
That's
that's,
my point.
I had to make. He goes, I had to
Exactly.
make. You made me make a decision 5 years ago, so I had to guess. I mean, that's all he can do. I mean,
Every year
he did
he-
his best he could do.
Every year he needs to re-guess. So, I mean, here's an example. I'm only saying fire because you said fire.
yeah.
So it says 2019, tanker pumper, 325, rescue, 200, bunker gear, 50. Total fire department, 250. I mean, there's obviously math problems here.
I like those for the town.
So it comes back to what, you know, what in what year? I mean, I don't think he wants to replace 2 trucks next year.
I need some water. I've been talking too much. But my convoluted thing,
Okay,
Are
well,
you,
okay.
Are you leaving?
I'm just getting small.
No.
Okay, so,
I was going to agree with something you said,
But
though.
hold on, I just want to get some water. But one thing to say about that, give it to the finance committee before I forget this. What about, is there an outside agency, Andy, or something like that might help us?
The Division of Local Services, yes,
I mean,
there
you
is.
spend $10,000 if
Yes.
you evaluate a
Yes.
real professional who does it.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars.
The
A little
division-
investment might help.
I would applaud doing that. It's the Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services. They're the ones that did this. Actually, that's a good idea. Because then it takes the emotion out of it. Right?
that's not a bad idea.
That's Glenn's idea. I fully support it.
Okay, so when are we gonna talk with the FinCom? When are they coming?
8 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
You wanna go get them?
Ask them if they're ready, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, Glenn, as you left the room, I 100% agree with what your suggestion is.
Which one? All of them?
To get somebody. And, I mean, the one to get is the Division of Local Services. Do you remember we went to that selectmen's meeting a year ago, that one guy that stood up there?
Yep.
That,
Yep, the younger,
them,
youngish
yeah,
guy, yep. I'd like to make a motion that, Joe Anderson, looks into this and reports back, at his early convenience when he has information.
the Division of Local Services?
Yep.
Sure.
Is that all right? All right with you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Just to have somebody.
no, I
hard
like
for-
it.
It's hard for, ask our department heads too. Because they're wanting to say good things to us, you know what I mean? They're wanting to say, hey, yeah, I can stretch it, they wanna,
That's what yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's best to have some eyes on it.
somebody that
Okay, so-
doesn't have an axe to grind.
Not even that. And this has nothing against, they're not doing anything wrong, it's just hard.
Yep. no, I
Hey,
agree.
okay, but if nothing else, can we get out of here tonight? You're probably gonna hear this, that. Forget about how we're gonna do it. We're all in agreement that we wanna bring down free cash. But we need to come up with some type of mechanism
Yeah,
to make sure it stays there.
yeah, and
Do
you
you
know-
understand just that concept?
You know what? I'm fine doing that, but it has to be together with this, not by itself.
Without a doubt. I'm sorry.
And I don't think we need a bylaw necessarily.
I have no problem with giving people money back and then because we're not gonna have any money. And then taxing them, because then that's a real true understanding of how much this costs. And then you have people in our department heads that really have to sharpen their pencil on like this building. This building should be this building needs to be painted on the outside and taken care
A
of.
year ago.
This needs to be part of our stabilization.
It's
thing.
on there.
Yeah, so this should not be an article of free cash.
Yeah, I agree. Let's let them talk and give, if that's okay with you, Chairman.
We're exhausted.
Yeah, we'll
I'm listening.
we'll go
I'm
into
listening
listen.
to me.
We'll go into listen mode.
Are you all coming down, or is anybody boycotting or anything?
No, I think everyone's gonna be here. Tom is not here tonight.
It's his birthday.
He's celebrating his birthday. He's 39.
Now we know what came up.
And
We just got the text that said that something came up.
I think this is a lot of too many numbers for him. He's a smart one. He changed his birthday so he wouldn't have to come. Mr. Chairperson, could I ask that all of the finance committee maybe just sit up here at the table, and then we all have we can see everybody, we can have a nice discussion, have two microphones.
Or at least just maybe share 2 microphones or somehow.
Or just so we see everybody. Everybody's
Everybody
behind each
come
other.
up.
Just come on
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
We'll see how we.
You need 2 tables.
You know what I mean? Just because, I don't know.
Family discussion.
Come on up.
Yeah, put one on one side, one on
Yeah.
the other.
So, I think, if nothing else tonight, we really would like you to help us with our sign bylaw. That's all we'd like to talk about tonight, if that's okay.
Pass.
It is, that would save a lot of time.
I'm not, just kidding.
So what's on your mind?
Well, I think at this point we're probably not ready to get into details, but it's more a statement of purpose. I think. We've obviously had a few meetings lately where we've talked about our free cash amount, which I think just came in at 1.824, consistent with the last few years, and in excess of what we think should be the case. To us, it represents excess taxation on the taxpayers of the town, and it's a question of, how do we fix the issue? We've seen local receipts come in excess of forecast for a few years. We've got a considerable number of turnbacks every year, so we always end up having more free cash than we anticipate. It obviously has some deleterious effects on stabilization. We've been paying things out of free cash instead of putting the time and effort into building a better capital improvements process. Problems we know about. Without knowing the amount of money we need to contribute to stabilization, we can't take advantage of that amount of money in terms of laddering our investments, proper cash management, so on. We don't have a sense of when money needs to come out of stabilization. All plays into proper cash management. Our approach,
How to fund stabilization also.
how to fund it, right? Our desired approach would be to continue to vet some ideas internally, at least for the next several weeks, and to have something for you to consider, for the Board of Selectmen to consider possible bylaw or policy change in time for the spring budget season.
Focused on all financial management, a particular area.
Excuse me,
Both.
can you define all financial management, just for everybody to know?
Well, I guess that's what I was asking.
We
Him-
want to
him
know what
define.
they're
yeah.
saying. Yeah.
I think our primary focus will be on how better to handle free cash. But we also recognize that the financial policies that we have are gathering dust and deserve a look. But I think it's fair to say our focus is going to be on free cash first and foremost.
And stabilization, I hope.
Well, I think, definitely. I think a process would have to include, it could be, so just to back up, we're looking at some changes for the spring that may come in the form of a bylaw or a policy change on free cash, in addition to possible other policy changes as one issue. But that has to be in the same ecosystem as a capital improvements process that is functional and plays into that, so that we can forecast what we need, we can invest it, we can ladder our investments appropriately, maximize the returns in those accounts. But our focus, first and foremost, over the next few weeks, will be to come up with and vet internally, get consensus in our committee, a proposal to address free cash.
Let me ask you this. This was just philosophically. Suppose there was a year where there was a lot of unexpected new growth. The town brought in quite a bit of unexpected revenue. just theoretically. And so free cash was up significantly, and we had been funding, say, the stabilization account for capital expenditures from the operating budget. If we had some kind of bylaw constraint in that situation, then we would have to raise taxes in the spring, and we would not be able to refund the money until the fall because we'd have to wait until the free cash was certified. If there was if we're creating some kind of bylaw that would constrain how much free cash the town would be allowed to have.
Well, there,
you see my point?
Conceptually,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, so I don't think you even have to respond to that.
no, I see the point. Our intent is to have a mechanism that would deal with the, so right now we have free cash certified. We know we had revenues in excess of estimates. That money we want to do something with. We're targeting that. The plan would not be to deplete the town of free cash. It would be to manage that amount of free cash. I mean, right now we have, I think we can all agree, a amount way above and beyond necessary. And there are mechanisms to deal with emergencies as well. But we would kind of be targeting the free cash that's well up and above of that range that we could conceivably need. But again, not being able to predict events, there are mechanisms to deal with unforeseen circumstances.
Mr. McGrath?
Only to directly answer Archie's question, as I best understand it, David, we project at the time we do the budget of new growth. So, and that's usually pretty good. I've been watching it for a couple of years because it happened in my neighborhood. So when we set the tax rate, it already is entertaining the notion of the new growth. So I don't see that we have that new growth revenue coming in willy-nilly to that free cash side, but rather it was reflected in a tax rate that accommodated it.
Mr. Chairman? So I'm a simplistic person, okay? We have $1.8 million around, I don't want to go into dollars and cents of free cash, okay? I would like some type of mechanism to be able to spend that down to a percentage of maybe 7 or 8% or something like that, and some type of mechanism to keep it there. That's what I'm looking for. However we get there and however we all can decide, I think that's what you guys are going to all discuss, but that's what I think. I think we've been speaking, it's about time that the selectmen have all been saying, we have too much, we want to bring it down, we want to do it. I think we need to, do it, and do it. And remember, we bring it down to $800,000 because there is some formula out there and some financial person saying with an operating budget of 14% to be a good, strong financial town, you need a certain amount of free cash, you need a certain amount of, revenues and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean we can't spend down 1 year if we have a total emergency. If we have $800,000 of free cash that we can't use $300,000 of that, bring it down to $500,000 because of an emergency. That's what these bond rating people want. They want to make sure you have a savings, so if something happens, you can spend it and you're in good financial standing and so forth and so on. So that's what personally I'm looking for. I want a mechanism to be able to spend it down to a reasonable amount and some.
When you say spend it down, what do you mean by that?
So we have $1.8 million.
You want to give it back to the taxpayers, or you want to just spend it on stuff?
Spend it down. There's two ways of doing it. There's spending it, there's giving it back to the taxpayers because they've been overtaxed. There is some capital stuff, there's some savings that I think we need to do because we have a future school building thing. There's a bunch of different avenues of doing it. I mean, isn't there? I'm just saying conceptually.
Right, I just,
that's what
I just don't
want.
want it to go out there that, okay, we got all this money burning a hole in our pocket, let's just use it on something that may not be valuable.
Oh, my word, no.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think we would, and that's not our intent. There's a series of best practices, which is written and supported by the DLS as to how that, and not in order of priority, but how that free cash, should be dispersed. And I think those are the areas that the committee wants to look at very carefully. So in other words, it doesn't just go to the random, purchase. It's applied to a stabilization fund. It's applied to a capital improvement project. It may be returned in part to the people who have paid the taxes. But how that's done and what the kind of ratios are, those are things that we just don't feel this evening that we could come in and present to you. Well, we think it should be, 50, 30, and 20. We need some time to study that.
That's fair.
Mr. McCarron?
I just point out, and this is something you guys can prepare for, that since our legislation will be passed pretty soon,
This week, fingers crossed.
it says, the Board of Selectmen shall be responsible for establishing and maintaining a written process for the preparation of the budget in the town. The Board of Selectmen shall annually issue at least one written budget message, including fiscal guidelines and a timeline of budget markers at the beginning of each budget cycle or at a time established by the town bylaws. So
That's pretty soon.
yeah, so you guys have, the idea is you should reduce this to writing.
We will.
That's why we're having these conversations.
Joe, you talk about it.
Yeah, I'm just going to amplify what Forbes started to talk about. We had quite the discussion before you arrived, and one of many things that we discussed is the Division of Local the Department of Revenue and Division of Local Services is there to help towns. So we were thinking of talking to them and seeing if they could be of support to us for any particular area, not focused on any particular one thing or any particular outcome or conclusion, but what advice would they give us? Just a general question.
And they've done that in the last 2 years with probably
A lot of different
over
towns.
a third of the towns.
Yeah, I've talked to them. Glenn and I went to a meeting about a year ago, and they did a presentation, and it was on a different topic, but I had a couple of conversations with the guy. They were just initial feeling them out, and I'm sure they'd be willing to help.
That conversation came up. I think it was going to come up anyway, but I made a suggestion. We were talking about, we've been, the capital improvements plan. That we're trying, we're struggling with that. We're always trying to wrap our heads around it. Projections, we're always guessing when a truck or a fire truck or stuff like that. And I said, there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have $1.5 million now in our stabilization. It might be worth it to try to get a professional in here because we keep on going and going and not having a plan. Maybe we need some help, spending a little bit of money and trying to get, something on this capital. And that's when Joe brought that up. So we're going to go, we actually took a vote and Joe is actually going to go and talk to those people.
And that's
and report back to us.
Specifically on that, but whatever else they have to say.
Yeah.
We were also interested in all the stabilization funds, knowing what money needs to go in, how it comes out and when, and how you ladder investments to make that all work.
Well, it's funny that you say that ladder investment, so I'll just repeat what I've already said. The investment committee met last week, and they said based on the capital plan, they cannot optimize our investments because they don't know time horizons of how much capital money will be needed and when. That's what they said. So when you're talking about capital plans, are you talking primarily about I'm presuming, the town capital plan and then also the school capital plan? Are those the two or more?
Well, we have a pension one too.
Yeah, we do. So you're including that. Okay. That was my question.
I would say all of them, if we're going to rationalize them.
You have to do them all.
It's a town obligation.
Correct.
Just asking what you were referencing.
Yeah, all town obligations should be done. They don't go away.
So we're looking for your buy-in to our plan of presenting something that will, either come in the form of a bylaw or a policy change.
You want our buy-in that you're gonna present it?
Yes.
Or you want our buy-in
I wouldn't be-
of your plan that you haven't told us about yet?
It's a secret plan. Can you approve it in advance?
Yeah. I
No,
would like to hear it.
this
I'm
is-
bought into you coming back and presenting something.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
us.
this is the direction we intend to go in, so, that's
Yeah, I
kind
think
of
we
what we're
should
here.
continue to talk to each other. If, somebody's gonna come in, that, we shouldn't be kind of going in two different directions.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
How long do you think it takes for one of these people to
I have
are
absolutely
they
no idea.
six years out, or can
No.
they come? Or
Is
I
it as
don't
simple
know.
as?
I would think
mean,
weeks,
is it as simple
or
as
maybe a month or two.
Oh,
we need to
really?
know what our obligations are, right? Through our capital improvements plan, we know what our future obligations are. We know what our present obligations are because we have an omnibus budget. That those are our obligations during the year, and then we save hopefully within that omnibus budget for our future obligations that we see, so we don't get stuck with a big bill. It's basically a savings account for future obligations that are going to hit the town. Okay, so we don't need these people are going to try to make it do it better, but we conceptually, right? We can have a good understanding with your plan that, hey, we have an omnibus budget, we have future obligations. How are we going to meet those obligations? Then we can plug in all the numbers, and then we have a free cash at $1.8 million. I think we all want to bring that down to a certain level of whatever that level we can talk about, and then how are we going to keep it at that level? I mean, basically, that's what it's all about.
And I think, and I agree with what you're saying. I think we need some kind of, I don't know if it's a strategy, a policy, a bylaw, or whatever it is.
It is what it is.
So that we keep, so that the free cash does not go, if we bring it down to 700,000, so it doesn't go back to 1.8 million. I agree with that at least.
John.
Just, I suppose this is to be politic or good, so you get the right kind of press. Yes, the number Glenn just mentioned on the free cash, but after town meeting, if everything passes, you'll have 1,158,000, which happens to be 7.1% free cash level.
Right, and that includes that 500,000 from the school.
all the articles.
Yeah.
And I think just on a theoretical level, another piece of like just the the bylaw, potential bylaw, or whatever would be just that, like just trying to be proactive in how we're raising money for these things. So rather than like someone mentioned earlier, oh, we have $1.8 million. What are we going to do with all this money? Because it's in kind of this big free cash bubble. It seems like it makes better financial practice to raise and appropriate that. Say, hey, if we're going to get a new fire truck, let's just make an article at town meeting. We're going to set aside $500,000 in a stabilization account for this fire truck. But I think it's easier for the townspeople to get their head around that. We're trying to save up money for this thing, so we're putting it aside. Which in my mind, even though it's functionally the same, it's different from when if you go to a town meeting and you say, oh guys, we have all this money laying around, so we're just going to get this.
So you're saying as an example, like what the article for this 500,000 for the school. So that's an example of what you're saying.
That's an example of, again, but doing it on the front end rather than on the back end. Even though it's the same to us functionally, I think it says to the taxpayers, like, we're trying to plan for this event.
Well,
so
that's what we're doing with the school. It's on the front end, right?
I suppose, but in theory, all that money that we're appropriated from, we appropriated it not from the school, but we just got it for general revenues from real estate taxes and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I'm not sure I do understand entirely. But
Or I guess even going back to the chairman's initial theoretical question, he said, well, what happens if all of a sudden we find out we need a new fire truck? It's like our solution to that would be not to be taking that money from free cash, but to be putting it as a raise and appropriate.
yeah, it should be, a fire truck should be identified in the
Right.
stabilization plan, right? There
But
should-
No,
there should-
I'm
there
looking
shouldn't
at-
be a surprise on a fire truck.
No. This is, and I mentioned this before you came in, but just to think about it in the other way, once something is locked up in a stabilization account where it's the same money, it's the same amount of money, and the amount of money that at least at the moment, that can be earned is not that, there aren't 8% returns on things at the moment. And so it's less flexible, and it's way more locked up, so that it can't be used in an emergency situation, or it would be even more, it would be way less likely that, okay, suppose we did want to give money back to the taxpayers. If it's locked up in a stabilization, I'm not against stabilization, I'm just playing the devil's advocate, that this is money that now is less available for any kind of purchase, and less available to give back to the taxpayers.
It's a town meeting vote. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. The school stabilization fund, I'm just using that as an example. If Pentucket does not pass and 0 is done, a 2/3 town vote would undo that?
Money in the stabilization.
How could we get that out?
Majority to put it in.
Yeah.
Majority to put it in, and 2/3 to take it out.
But it's got to be used for the purpose.
That's what I mean. So what if
you can't take it out and buy a fire truck?
But we can take it out and put it back, so it stays in there forever, even if we don't.
You could use it for any school-related capital project. You use it in Page School.
That's all I'm saying.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
So we can't take a vote and say, we're not doing it now. We tried to save for it, but they're not doing it anymore. We want to give it back to the taxpayers?
No, that was my understanding, but I can
we check on that?
look it up. There will eventually be capital costs for a school.
But that's why I'm just throwing that out there.
There's an argument to be made for avoiding free cash in favor of transparency here. I mean, the whole argument of it takes a 2/3 vote to spend from stabilization is a good one. When quorum is 90 people, getting a simple majority, we can sort of go with the whims of the town, but having a higher threshold adds that higher bar to spend the money. Free cash is not earmarked. It sits there when it's a large amount.
I agree, but what about this problem that we want to use it for something else, and it's locked into.
We need to check on that.
It's locked into pension. Only can use it for the pension at that.
Mr. Chairman? So then Mike, then our other stabilization has more latitude. You can use it on more things because it's the town stabilization. So maybe we should have been putting this all in a town stabilization, but not a school stabilization, and that would give you more flexibility in case nothing happened. Then we would be able to use it on town stabilization things. I never knew that. I thought if something didn't happen, you could take it out.
Yeah, I did too.
Interesting.
John?
I think we need to check on that.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 stabilizations, as have been mentioned. 2 of them, the town stabilization or CIC one, and the health or insurance benefit, those are known costs. They're structured, and however well or not well, but they are known cost occurrences that are going to occur to some level. The third one, the school one, is a different deal, and somebody should be arguably looking into that to find, so that we maybe get some kind of safety valve identified on it.
We will.
But so I don't think it's quite fair to lump stabilization in, because the other 2, the primary 2, they have a dedicated purpose. Which purpose is going to occur? Vehicles are going to get old, buildings are going to get old, and we're going to be done for the insurance costs. I mean, whatever that other one is for the retired people.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Chairman, Mr. McGrath, Jen mentioned something, just so we could get good numbers, that it is at $1.8 million free cash, but if all the articles pass at fall town meeting, which is a week from Monday, that will be brought down to $1.1 something million, which is 7.1% of the budget. So all those things that we're saying that we want to bring it down to, which goes
to 500,000.
Which goes back to yours. We have to have another conversation on that.
What's that?
No, we'll talk about that. Okay. For the school thing, your proposal. Okay, so you guys done? I mean, I'm not trying to kick you out, but, I mean, you guys, I don't want to keep you. Huh? Yeah, with us, yeah, because we don't want to keep you. So I would say yes, right? That we would
Yeah.
like to have a future, sooner than later, because time is at the essence. I mean, some
But
help
just so you know, we're going to be talking to the DLS too.
Yeah, and please include at least me, if not the whole committee on that. I think it would be important for us to be in
Both ways.
lockstep.
Yep.
But yeah, I
Or
mean,
if
that's,
if they come out and have a meeting, there's nothing wrong with them coming in on it, right?
Yeah.
Right?
yeah, no.
I mean, let's look at we're focusing on the negative of a good problem. Can we
Yeah.
think about that? I mean, a lot of towns would kill to be in our situation.
It's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's not make it seem like we're dying here, because we're not.
Well,
No,
we're all
we're-
dying. It
we're-
just all depends on which day that it
We're
counts.
fine tuning a well-run vehicle.
That's, yeah, I like
you.
that.
That's good. I
That's
like it.
good.
But one thing I don't want to do is wait for the state people either to try to come and you have
No.
the conversation. It's all conceptual, you know what I mean? We
Yep.
have free cash, we want to get to a level, we want to be able to keep it at that level and how we're going to use, what mechanisms we got to keep it there, and the CIC thing, how we're going to get a better handle and start funding it. I like to start funding it personally through the operating budget.
I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah, and that gives you, it gives the taxpayers a true understanding of how much it's really gonna cost to run the town now and to save for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
But we're still on this subject, but see, we have 1.8, right? We bring it down to 1.1, we take another $500,000 out of it for spring. This is already certified. So now that brings it down to $600,000.
Yeah, there's offsets though. That's the bringing down offset. There's also a bringing up offset at the end of the year.
If we decide to go that way.
Yeah,
might not
we have
want
to
to.
figure out. I think
Yeah, I know,
I think
I
in
know.
the spring we have to figure out the exact number. You know, I said 500.
I understand.
Maybe it's 4, maybe it's 6. I don't know.
I want to see if when we fund the stabilization out of operating, and it really bumps up the tax
I
rate.
think we have to really ease.
You guys are going to go for it.
We have to ease.
Listen,
into
we
that
have
one.
promised us that we're gonna ease it up a little bit each year, and we haven't done that. So we have to come to the realization, or just throw our hands up and say, forget it. Let's not do it. Let's go about the same business, and I don't think we wanna do that.
Okay. So what can I just? So what are you thinking?
I don't know. I'm just.
Okay. I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just. We're talking, so.
It's always the first thing that gets. It's always the first thing that gets cut. Well,
the
we can
easy
fund
hit.
the stabilization
It's
with.
the- it's the
with-
easy
you know,
hit.
we always say that. Yeah.
What we ought to do, well, I don't know. Let's hear what the experts say.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, what we ought to do is just kind of ease into it a little each year over
What
a long
about-
period of
We
time.
were budgeting, you know that roads plan we have?
Used to have, yeah.
Shouldn't that be in stabilization? A bit more
Perhaps.
scrutiny of it?
Well, I think the funding from that comes from a lot of
Multiple
different places.
sources.
But yes, the whole, yes.
You mean?
It comes from different sources. It comes from Chapter 90. It comes
Yeah.
from budget.
Comes from free cash sometimes. So I'm saying, but I'm talking about our contribution, the towns. You know, yes, Chapter 90 money's there, and then the Chapter 90 money's not enough to run the town, so we have to use it. So shouldn't that be in stabilization rather, because those are long-term things, and not have that line item?
Yeah.
And it should
Perhaps, yeah.
come out of a stabilization
Perhaps.
thing?
Yep. Okay. Yes.
Make a motion to approve the artichoke dairy sign?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I saw the paper.
What?
Okay, so this is gonna be one of our first signs that we're approving.
Yeah.
And just like the last one we approved, are we gonna require that they come back every year? Is this?
No.
Not this
They
one.
don't come
And
back
there's
every year?
no change to
Not
this, you just,
this one. do we agree we're talking about this one specifically?
This one
He does not need to
specifically?
come back.
He does not
Unless
need to
there are
come
any
back.
changes.
He only,
Only
yes,
changes.
yes.
And if we end up having a change, then we would ask him to come back, but we would be notifying you to tell him, but he doesn't have to come back unless there's some changes that happen.
Okay.
No email every year, like.
No, not this
Thank you.
one only.
We'll put it on the list that we did it.
This one, oh yeah, it has to be
Yeah.
on the list. Make a motion to accept Mike Dwyer's one-day liquor license?
For the date?
October 20, oh, that's the wrong one, sorry.
October 27th,
I think it is.
This is the part.
5:30 to
Yeah, I know,
7:30
but I just
p.m.
want to read.
October 27th from 5:30 to
7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Second?
It's the, it's the
Retirement party?
retirement party for Scott.
Right, right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What, it says clarification of signs.
Oh,
on-
okay, I just wanted to reiterate, because Mary has been taking a lot of grief somewhat for the real estate signs, and on those, here it is. To whom it may concern, this correspondence is to reaffirm the prohibition of advertising signs on town property in West Newbury without permission of the Board of Selectmen. Town property includes traffic islands, roadside rights-of-way, and telephone poles. And specifically, we would not be approving any additional signs, directional signs on the town rights of way. So there's no reason for people to come in and request that, because we would not approve that. One-day signs for open houses will be allowed, provided they are removed immediately after the open house for the real estate sale.
Same day.
Can I see that?
So-
Never mind, hold on.
Do you want to update that
We
notice?
need, can we talk about this for 1 second?
Okay.
Ready?
What's the question?
Do we need to update the notice on the website with the directional signs?
Okay, this is what I was
Well,
talking
this is
about.
what,
This corresponds to reaffirm the prohibition of advertising signs on town property in West Newbury without permission from the Board of Selectmen. The town property includes traffic islands. Okay, but see, hold on. Reaffirm prohibition of advertising signs. Okay. In West Newbury without permission from the which does not prevent placing signs on for sale property that complies with the sign bylaw.
Glenn, these were specifically forwarded to the
Yep.
to the real
Or
estate
these
companies.
signs for open houses, yeah, but it has to say that all directional signs are prohibited from West Newbury and will not, you don't have to come for permission. This corresponds to reaffirm the prohibition of advertising signs in the town of West Newbury. I mean, this doesn't even need to be sent to, what needs to be sent to realtors is, all directional signs are prohibited. You can have signs in front of your house and what it says there for open houses, that's it.
Well, Archie wrote this letter, and it was already sent to the real estate.
I understand.
So, I agree with what you said, but.
I was under the understanding that all directional signs are prohibited from West Newbury no matter what. I don't want them to come in front of us, they
Right.
don't come in front of us,
Yep.
anything like that.
Yep.
The for sale signs in front of houses and land, those are fine, and the open house signs were fine, and they don't have to be approved as long as they go up the same day, up and down on the same day.
But when you talk about open house signs, those also have directions. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's just for an open house for that day, and they have to come up and go down.
Yes.
In the same
The
day.
one day.
Anything related to an open house,
Even if it's an arrow, even if it's a direction.
anything related to an open house for that one day, it has to go up that day and down that day is allowed.
What?
Does that mean, like, if there's a house for sale on Georgetown Road, can someone put
No,
a sign on
no,
Maple Street saying
no.
open house with an arrow?
Yes.
Oh, open house, yes. Anything with open
But
house,
not for
yeah,
sale with an arrow. That's what you're saying.
correct. Anything related to an open house, they can do. but it has to be up. Those are temporary for just that one day. You can't put something up on Thursday saying an open house is going to happen on Sunday. No, it has to be that day.
They have to have the balloons, though. I like the balloons.
It's only signs that go up and down the same day as the open house. Anything else will be taken down by the town and will be taken down by the town.
Oh, okay, I agree. So we've said this, we've put it on our website, we've sent out email blasts from the website. We specifically notified the real estate community about this. So at what point do we direct Gary when someone doesn't comply?
Okay, I don't believe that if that's the only thing that went out to the real estate people. Oh, okay, I guess, yeah.
If they come to me or come to the selectmen asking about directional signs or wanting to meet,
No.
I'll let them know
No.
that it's not necessary.
Well, I prefer, hopefully, that they don't have to come to you and waste your time.
They will.
That everybody.
They will.
Everybody comes up there. So then, so if we feel that we've notified everybody properly with our new thing, I would say I would ask after this Friday, all directional signs or anything that has not been approved start being picked up by our DPW.
I would agree. Because
After this Friday?
what? Yeah.
Yeah,
Can we
starting
have a
next
date?
Monday. Starting next Monday. Give them this week. Okay, what do you want? When? I
No,
don't
that's
care.
fine. That's fine. I don't care.
I mean,
I don't care the date. I just think it should be done at some point.
Yeah, so give them this week and starting on Monday. If any signs, any directional signs that are out there, and the first response from our DPW is, how will we know which ones are, approved or not? And we'll say,
Mary has a list.
Mary has a list, and they only can be approved every 2 weeks. So that list is current. It's not
Okay,
like-
okay, but any real estate ones are going to be, unless they're on the property, are going to be.
Taken out.
That's
They're not gonna. They're gonna know because we're not gonna approve any of them.
Correct. Any directional signs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
You look confused.
What's the
Mary.
matter?
It's just thinking, that's all. If they're doing open houses, it's on Saturday, Sunday. So if this is effective as of Monday, anything out there should have
They'll all
already
be
been
gone.
removed for the open house.
But the open house that we wouldn't even
they-
know about because they're up and down on
They
one day.
usually do
Exactly,
take them
exactly.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as of Monday, they're to go around and take down all the directional signs? Or
Any
all
no. Any sign that has not been approved as of tonight, we don't have a meeting until we don't have a meeting. So anything it has to come down and ask. You want to keep them for a while for the first time, and so people can pick them up somewhere.
That's all.
I mean, just in case they don't, you know what I mean. Just have them stockpiled maybe for the first couple of times, and then you know what I mean. Just to be respectful, or no?
If we do,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think town employees any DPW should be spending any time. They should put them somewhere, and if someone wants to come and look for and find them, they can do that.
Fine.
We should not be touching
Your garage?
my garage.
The town garage?
It's probably not big enough.
Why don't you, without us?
The town garage.
Ask Gary.
By the salt there or
That's what I
something
was
like.
saying.
Yeah.
Let them solve it. I was going to say, without us telling them what to do, let them figure it out.
I mean, the garage that would make sense, but
It's open all the time.
And
And
we'll keep for 1 week and then we'll dispose of them?
Yep.
I would say a week only.
Yep.
So that's part of your motion.
Yep.
Okay.
I got to think about that part. So that includes all the baseball leagues and so forth that haven't come to us. Okay, ready? You
Does
ready
this
for that,
include-
Glenn?
Does this include all signs on telephone poles?
Yes.
Yeah, especially.
Mary.
I'm just
No, hold
I'm
on,
just
Mary.
asking.
Gary's going to come to you, whomever. He's the department head. You're going to say, Gary, these are all the approved signs that the selectmen have around town. Boom. Okay. And but do no agricultural signs. Don't take any of those down. Right.
Right.
Yeah, no
The ones
agriculture.
that have been approved, none.
I wouldn't take any agricultural signs down.
I haven't
because we-
seen any except the Colby
Yeah, I know,
Farm.
but I'm just saying, at this point, I wouldn't take any of those down because we haven't, what's
Make
up, Mike?
note of them.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I think they could have,
I think you're about to get some legal advice.
they could have.
No, you can do that.
No,
No,
they-
I want permission to put up some signs for town meeting on Monday.
Yeah, and whoever keeps on
I'm
putting
gonna,
that-
I'm gonna,
whoever keeps on putting
I'm gonna
that one in
put them
front of-
up and take them
Tomorrow
down at
they
the
go
same
up.
time.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm putting them up,
I'm putting them up,
Make a
yeah.
motion that we can put town meeting signs
Well,
up.
let's finish our motion
including.
first.
Anywhere we want.
I'm taking that, whatever that sign that goes out in front that sits on that hill, that cheap sign, I'm taking that down next time. That was never approved.
No, we actually did grant Mike. We did.
That little
We,
thing that
we
goes up and
granted
down?
Mike and the chief the ability to put a sign in front of both their respective buildings. We did.
So did the board vote on that?
Not yet.
Okay,
There's a motion that was seconded.
so that was Glenn, motion.
Okay, so
I
the
was the second.
fundraiser ones that have not come before us,
We're in discussion.
you wanna put them you wanna dump them?
Yes, but no. I honestly, no. I think this needs to be baby steps, but I think the very clear one are the restaurant,
Real estate
are the real estate directional signs.
or landscaping or.
I know. See, this is the problem is Gary. He's gonna come back to us and say, I can't do this, I'm not doing this, because you guys I don't have clear orders. Who am I? They're gonna come to me and start yelling at me. Whatever. You right? Yeah. How, can I ask a couple of questions? I think the answer to your question is yes, but I want some clarification in my own head so I feel better about it. How did that woman from Pawtucket even know? How did she know? Because that,
I think she saw it in the newspaper or on the website or got it by email. Yeah, it was by email from the website. She signs up. Yeah.
yes, like I did.
Okay.
That is where she got it because she
That
had
is.
the thing on it.
Yes.
It was from the email.
Oh, that's
Yes,
right,
it
yeah.
was.
Would it make sense just to hold on to the signs a little longer for the first month? And then
2 weeks instead of 1
if
week.
you take down the
No, a
signs,
month
people
is
say,
okay.
"Where
I
are
wanted
you?"
it
They
early,
don't
but
go
Joe,
bad.
Joe's out for blood tonight.
Yeah.
No, I-
He didn't even want to. He didn't even want to keep them.
I calmed down.
Talking about maybe it's a small fundraising group, so.
Yeah,
maybe
and
just
those signs are
hold-
$40 sometimes.
Yeah, that's
No,
so-
they're not. They're like $3.
Until people can figure out what you want, he'll know, they'll come looking for it.
Okay, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
For the first start.
Yeah. Okay. You make a good
I
point.
mean, that's fair. Okay, so want to vote on this? Yes. Yes, the answer is.
Okay.
And extend it to 2 weeks.
I'd extend it to a month, but that's
I would rather vote too.
I don't care.
We'll end up with snow.
Month,
It's gonna
Month.
start snowing then.
and then we'll readdress it in a month. Then after a month is done, it goes to a week. Right?
Why would we, after a month, even keep them?
Because you just have to keep them. Whatever. It just saves a little bit of headache off the inside. You keep them just for a couple of days, whatever. You know what I mean?
I
If you-
think
if you
people will
count it-
start to get the picture then.
Okay. Until we start taking them down, nobody's going to get the picture. So I would agree.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So I would agree that we have to take them down, Archie, even though I don't like it. We can't do. People are gonna say, "Oh, why didn't you tell us? I didn't know." How much more can we do? It's been in the newspaper.
Discussed it over the.
It's on the
Yeah,
website.
and it's on the website. We can't do anymore.
Email blast.
That's why I was just curious how she found out.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean, we've done our job. So let's do it. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Let's reiterate the motion, so no, so we get it right.
No, I agree.
Yeah, so make a motion to, as of next Monday, all unapproved signs, except agriculture ones, will be taken down. The signs will be stored, kept for a month if people want to pick them up.
Okay. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So if you could change our website and say to selectmen, you have 1 week to take all your signs off or something like that, that would be good. And if you could send an email, something in writing to Gary on the specific instructions on what to do, and CC all of us, so then there's no question, you know what I mean?
So the follow-ups are instructions to the DPW director and an email or a posting on the town website with an email.
Correct.
So informing the public of what's gonna take place on Monday.
On the
That they'll
website,
be, that
on the
they'll be
website.
kept, oh, on the website, right, and that they'll be kept for 1 month.
Yep.
Location to be determined.
By the DPW director. So he
DPW
needs to tell you that before you post it.
Okay.
Yeah, ask him
Okay,
first.
Right.
He's gonna stay down here, he's not gonna want him up there. So,
That's a good
Can we
point.
put them around?
He's gonna say in your office, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's your
but you know
office.
what? We kinda run the town, and so it's a DPW garage. Okay, that's the proper place to put them. I mean, they're gonna be in their trucks, they go there every day, they start there every day, there's enough
And it's
room.
accessible.
Yeah, outside, not in the
Outside, outside.
Yeah, the town was very generous in appropriating the money to build that beautiful big building. So, there's plenty of room up there.
Okay, good. That was supposed to take a minute.
If Gary has any questions, tell him to call the chairman.
Chairman?
Call the chairman.
Mike, that's a good idea.
Call the chairman. So
Tell-
are we on to the minutes? Because I want to talk about something.
Yeah.
Hey, tell him to put him in the horse paddock and call the riding and driving course. That wasn't my idea, that was Mike's.
Glenn, you're on TV. And you can't take it back. There's no 7-second delay. So on the minutes, so, you know, there's kind of extremes of things. In the minutes of August 21st, it took me a really long time to read them. They were 10 pages
10
long.
pages
10
long.
pages. Is that necessary?
No.
Did you see something in there that was overboard?
Oh, yeah. I saw multiple things.
So,
Okay.
can I ask a question about minutes? Why do we keep minutes? To have a good representation of what happened at the meeting?
Mhm.
Right? So the public can be informed on votes and so forth, and we have to do that because of the Attorney General's open meeting law, right?
Yep.
Open meeting law.
Yep.
So what I would say is that all we should be doing in minutes now is a brief outline of
Well,
like,
we should be doing everything required by law to start with.
of course. And
Recording
which is-
votes, who's in attendance.
Yeah, which is basically who's in attendance and recording votes.
Can I ask a question about a vote? Is a vote, when a vote is taken, what's required? Is it like the vote was 2-1 or just that the board approved? What's it have to say?
That's a good question.
Certain roll call votes have to be
That has to be
that,
individual.
individual.
That would be going into executive session.
Right,
and so
right.
forth.
Whatever
but other
roll-
ones can be basically what the board approved.
We can just say the board approved and it doesn't have to say what it did. Okay.
Some votes you want to, obviously, like on voting for the town payroll, you want to make explicit that Selectman Kemper is abstained, you know.
Well, you don't even.
The better practice would be to have,
That way, you should say yes, Glenn, yeah.
Yeah, you should say that, but it could be 2-0-1. Kemper abstaining.
But that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can, I
Versus
think that, I think the
saying
best,
payroll is
I think the
approved.
best practice would be to actually record the votes.
That's kind of where I was heading.
Yeah.
2-0, what you mean? Anderson, yes.
Yes.
Archibald, yes.
Yes.
Kemper,
Or
abstaining.
saying if it's 3-0, it's obvious. But if it's 2-1-0, say Selectman whatever.
Kemper.
Opposition, or,
Yeah, opposed.
or you
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
said, is that
Opposed.
2-0-1 Kemper abstaining.
Got it. Or 2-1.
Anderson
Kemper
present.
opposed.
But it doesn't have to be a transcript of what occurs, it just has to
No.
be a summary of the issues covered.
Right.
So
Like, for example, let's use our discussion about free cash. I mean, that was a half an hour.
45 minutes.
Okay, so I would put like 1 or 2 sentences about that.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
whatever agreements that were if
That's
we
it. No,
Right,
just
and
the
votes
agreement.
carried.
The selectmen met with the finance committee, and they decided that they're gonna go back with, they're gonna come back, with a concept on free cash, stabilization, and that's, you know.
And Mr. Anderson was gonna discuss the issues with DLS.
Yeah, in the open, I can't quote it, but in the open meeting guide, they actually have a detail, a blurb on how it should be, and I'll copy that out and just send it to you.
So my point being is,
I'd like to see that. I haven't seen
my
that.
point being is, we're not trying to hide anything, because
10 pages is a waste.
yeah, and we're having a problem. I mean, not a problem, but Mary, it's just so much time too.
Right.
And then if somebody really wants to refer to a meeting, they go to YouTube. They're all taped.
Yeah, an example, Mary, I mean, you were kind of asking like for an example. We were discussing the stop signs. In the latest minutes, it listed all of the stop signs discussed. And then it went on to list all of the ones we said yes or no on. So like, we don't probably need to list all the ones discussed, just the vote of which ones yes or no. As an example.
I think, and we've been talking about doing a little bit more bridge for a while.
A little more what?
I mean,
A bridge.
A bridge, making them shorter for a while. For a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll send you that.
Remember, Dick, you were here, Jen, and we were talking about it. We don't need it, but Dick, this other selectman really wanted them, and he wanted every detail. So that's when you were looking at Chris's, and you probably gave you an understanding of what the expectations of this board wanted. Of course, we were looking at Chris's. It was just too much, and everybody was saying it's just too much. It's ridiculous. You spend so much time on minutes. You basically need to record the votes. So I would do what the state requires, and then if anybody wants to see about a meeting and see what really happened,
It's on YouTube.
it's on YouTube. Right? What do you, Jen, right?
Well, I mean, I'm always gonna want a little bit more than you guys want, you know, just because the public's gonna come in, but there's certain issues you can do whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we're saying 5 pages versus 10.
The school committee does much less than that, much less. Other towns do.
What about Newbury?
Newbury does a modest, modest amount. It's not too much, but it's not. I personally feel like, and they're probably within the law, but I feel like the school committee is too curse, because you really can't get a sense of the meeting at all.
Right.
Other than what's passed and not passed.
They just do.
They sort of just do the agenda
They
and
do the
say yes or
minimum.
no, basically. Yeah.
They do.
You're right, it is on YouTube, so people.
And they do the minimum, and I don't think we're saying the absolute minimum. We're saying a little more.
But we
than
need to
that.
cut it down. It's just too much.
Well, I'm not doing that. Was done by Lori.
But then you're going over them.
But
Yeah,
I
you're
have to
trying to-
review them, right? But
But when that whole concept about that, when we were going to pay somebody to do the minutes, in my head, you weren't going to do them anymore.
well, I still have to. She's,
I thought
she's seeing it for
you
the
were
first
gonna
time
do-
on video.
So-
and can hear some of it, can't hear other parts, and I'm
Yeah.
helping her fill it in. I have to go through them.
I mean, so I just
Yeah,
want
I-
votes.
yeah.
I mean, right?
I'm sorry, Glenn?
Just to vote. I mean, why don't we try like?
I
even
will definitely work on that.
Just cut them down.
I appreciate the feedback.
Good job. Make a motion to accept the minutes of August 21st, 2017,
And September 5th.
and September 5th.
Second.
All in favor?
Make a. We didn't bring them in.
I had a.
Bring who in?
Mary, did you find out about that one I had a question about?
5,000?
The-
Yes.
Yeah, can you explain that one, Andy?
Yeah, that was a replacement check.
A what?
A replacement check.
For what?
Well, we gave them a check for $5,000. They couldn't cash it.
Who?
The city of Newbury.
Oh.
About the dog officer?
Yes.
Okay. So, because it said something about a car, and I couldn't understand what it meant.
I just asked the Sue and Laurie to research it and then make sure that the other check didn't clear. And then, so they explained to me there was a problem with the bank. We have what's called positive pay. They checked the check number and the amount, and it didn't agree, so they couldn't cash it, so they needed another check.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with an automobile or anything. Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the invoice warrant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve the payroll warrant.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There was a question on somebody's holiday pay, I think, on,
Columbus Day?
yeah. They're a 20-hour-a-week employee, so they get a half-a-day pay. which is 4 hours.
Oh, okay.
And they were scheduled to work on Monday?
Doesn't matter, according to our policy.
Okay, as long as we clear that up. Does everybody know what we're talking about?
I saw that one, yeah.
No, these guys,
Yeah.
they're the ones that take care of it.
I'll follow up with Laurie.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so are we clear? We said that we're gonna like be better at what our follow-ups are. So are we clear what our follow-ups are from this meeting?
Why don't you tell us, Joe, since you're the,
Well, we've been trying to do.
Maybe Mary should tell us.
Oh, well,
Hey, Mary, we're gonna try to do at the end of each meeting.
No,
To have a follow-up. I just don't wanna put her on the spot either. I wanna make it feel.
Well, I don't know if you,
I mean, you want me to tell you all the follow-ups that I would do after this meeting? Is that what you're asking for, or follow-up? I mean, there's.
an example.
We're trying to.
An example is Andy will take the old 302, it'll be taken out of service and sold, and Andy will handle that. That's a follow-up.
Right, exactly.
What's the next one?
I'll check with the Division of Local Services on what they can or can't do for us.
Okay.
The stone wall, we'll get that signed off.
The wife's gonna come back in, she's working in Portsmouth.
Exactly, you guys are gonna sign it, we'll get that filed. Well, he'll get it recorded, but we'll file it as well. I'll follow up with Angela with an email about her signs.
Who?
The one-day liquor licenses, I'll send those out, get them out.
Signs instructions to the DPW director and post on the website.
Yep, Artichoke Farm, I'll be in contact with him, let him know everything was approved and
Okay.
doesn't need to come back.
Talk to Lori, reduce the
I mean,
minutes.
meeting minutes, I still have to go through and now match everything up, and so, you know, that,
Have a conversation with Lori about it.
have a conversation with Lori, and we'll get on the same page.
I can appreciate somebody that isn't there, doesn't necessarily know what was important versus always. It's harder to tell.
And doesn't
yeah.
know us per se either.
She doesn't know the issues, so it all sounds either trivial or important or whatever. It's hard to tell.
It does make it more challenging.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, and all the
It's on the
attachments as
website.
well. I send those out to her.
Yeah, that's a good point, Glenn. Yeah.
She gets all of that, and then the video, the attachments, yep, she does. So, and then as far as, the finance committee and that discussion, you're following up on DLS, was it? Other than that, we're just on hold.
And they're gonna come back.
They're gonna.
Right, they'll come back.
Yeah.
They're gonna come back to you,
They're gonna
and
look
ask to
too.
be on a future agenda, and you work it out with the chairperson.
So the only other things I had for future agenda were all the things that were pushed from this meeting.
Right.
Which are the Pentucket Athletic Association, discussion of the open meeting law, and department head objectives. Open meeting law.
And okay, I just want to bring this up. Before this was brought to our attention today.
Today?
Yeah, today. The planning office may be interested in applying for a grant. The deadline for it is next Monday. I said that if if Leah could get it to us, and it's not too complicated, that I would consider, with your input, that we would consider. Basically, they need a signature on it by Monday, and it can be done after 5 o'clock. So could we talk to Leah before the town meeting?
What's it for?
It was to get a consultant, hire a consultant, and to help us with, for example, revamping the home office the rules for home office use and for
Home occupation.
home occupations.
Oh, for residents, oh.
Right. And
There was another zoning issue or zoning.
and also related to updating the zoning laws related to two-family and three-family housing.
Did this just come up? Because usually grants are like.
It came up. It was only report. You know, she only got the announcement of it a week or so ago, and looked it over the weekend and said maybe she could actually do it.
Well,
so
she
that's
said-
why it's so it's not really anybody except the. Well, that's the next question.
So she did say she got it a couple weeks ago and did put it in front of the planning board, and they agreed if she wants to, it'll take a lot of her time to prepare a lot of this for this grant. So they approved it on their end if she's willing to put in.
Do it, and then she finally realized this weekend that she said, okay, I can do it, and now she wants to come to it.
Now she's thinking, well, she was gonna contact them and find out, can we do it on 5 o'clock or 5:30 on Monday? If the deadline is the same day.
So how much does it cost?
Okay, so the grant was. I said, how much is the consultant going to cost? And she's going to get hard numbers from some consultants, but she thought 20,000. The grant provides 75% of that, and but the town's contribution would be 25%. But the town's contribution can be non-monetary. It can be in-kind contribution of her work effort and time. Could be that 25%.
Why are they doing it? Is there a problem? Is there a need?
Home occupations, yeah.
Well, actually, no. I having spoken to Glenn about that when I did his review. Yes, and he that's one thing that he wanted to there's new it's sort of an evolving thing as I mean, we're thinking of what people did in 1950 versus what they're doing.
Could this potentially restrict residents on the present home occupations and put restrictions and or changes to people who have two-family homes or whatever in town now?
It's just to see what the.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
I mean, are we going to pay $20,000, then we're going to tell residents that they're doing things wrong?
No, if anything, I think the idea is to see what home occupations could be more, more modern things that
Modernize things, and then Glenn would be able to approve more because that.
Perhaps, yeah.
I'm going to say
Yeah.
it's definite, but
Yeah.
I'm not looking to regress.
No.
I have a good understanding of it. I mean,
Well, that
and then if the money.
Well, one of the things that Glenn Closey wanted to do this year was to update, like I say, the definition of what a home occupation is in the context of the year 2017 instead of, like I say, in 19. There are occupations that people never heard of in.
Yeah, but he can be making calls on those.
What?
So.
No, but to if you remember how much time was put into the sign bylaw, this is kind of just updating the bylaw on that, and I don't think it's a bad idea. Yeah.
But she puts in 1,500 in-kind hours. Where's the other one? Where's the $3,500 coming from out of our 5,000 of 20,000?
I don't know. Well, it hasn't even been. I'm giving you all the information I have. She only hasn't even done. She hasn't even started it yet. Yeah. Right. What? No, but there's no point in doing anything about it until Wednesday, because if the planning board doesn't want to do it, then all bets are off.
That they already
No, she's going to talk to them tomorrow night.
Okay, shit.
Because she had before told them that she didn't think she could get to it, that's all. So
So maybe the funding needs to be.
the question is, can we talk about that on next Monday before town meeting? No?
I'm not coming here at 5 o'clock.
No, not 5 o'clock. I said 6:30.
Well, I don't know.
No,
She's
she
gonna-
already
she's
she already
gonna-
sent me an email, said that it could be after hours.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, I thought, unless I read it
I
wrong.
didn't get that.
Did I read it wrong?
No, I didn't get it, so I don't.
There are deadlines on grants, right?
Right.
You have to they have to be.
Absolutely.
by Monday, so.
But if they were gonna give us an hour and a half.
Okay.
So I'll get the information, send it out by email.
EEA is okay, which is the state agency, is okay with submitting a BOS signature late on Monday night for the grant application. That's what it says. I interpret that to mean, 11:59 p.m.
If you get the grant and you get to read it this week, we can discuss it for 15 minutes, the validity of it with Leah, just Leah, maybe the chairperson of the board. We have questions, all three of us, chairperson of the planning board, and Leah on Monday night for 15 minutes, 6:30 to 6:45, and that's it. 6:30 sharp.
In this room?
No, over there. Oh, yeah, you have to, future agenda stuff, you have to, please, we can post a meeting for over there. No matter what, I post it for 6:30, we always do that, yeah. Post a meeting for the board of selectmen, in case we have to take any votes, starting at 6:30.
Is that an open session? And okay,
Yeah,
so
open meeting.
I'll take a look at what was done last year.
It's very open. So what you wanna do, it's 6:30, but if Leah's coming in, you have to say 6:30. I told her. No, but I'm saying.
So then we'll do that.
It has to be over there, and on the agenda will be 6:30, if Leah's coming in, Leah from the planning board to discuss grant.
So how are you gonna have a meeting over there with people coming in and?
No, we do it up on our table. We do it all the time.
Okay.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn, my bad.
No, for the next
Excuse me, you gotta check the battery.
There was 2 when you started. We need to replace these.
Mine is dead. All day. Yeah, we'll do a date, no, let's do this. Get out of here. Just get a microphone.
This is what's happening.
Here, you need a microphone.
What? This is fine. We just gotta watch it. This is not a big deal. The battery's running out. Okay.
Okay, we got a notification from the superintendent that he wants to come in and give us a presentation. Do we want to do that at our next regular meeting?
As long as there's time.
No.
Why do you say no?
Can we give them a notification back and say, yes, we're up for it, why don't you give us a time? I think that's my understanding for being in these meetings.
What do you mean, why don't you give us a time? I'm not understanding.
A date.
Oh, a date.
I'm sorry. It was my understanding that they were gonna send out invitations for us and for us to invite people too. My suggestion was make sure they're gonna do is the whole presentation of the process, and then we should, after we get a date with them, we should invite the finance committee, the planning, anybody who wants to show up to our meeting, we should do that.
What date do we have the finance committee coming in to talk about next year's budget? That's scheduled. I don't know when it is. It's the 13th or 30th? I think it is.
So why don't we, because they were hoping to do 2 towns and 1 night, and then 1 town.
I'm not coming at 4 p.m. though.
They changed this time, did you see that?
Yes.
No, this was a specific, this was different, Glenn. This was a specific request to meet with,
No, he was just making it
Correct.
a crack. It had nothing to do with that. I
mean,
told
don't-
him you were upset.
I don't care when they come in. They can come in the 30th, 13th. I don't care. Whatever. Whatever he wants.
30th, we have a lot on the agenda.
We do.
A lot of follow-up.
Already?
Well, the other thing that Archie wanted was a follow-up of the Springtown meeting.
We need to do that.
And so we had some stuff that had been pushed.
You have that
Well,
email?
let's see when the
You have that?
superintendent wants to come in, and let's see what the agenda is, and you can decide what goes on it and what's not.
Yeah.
We don't
invite
have
him
to do.
yeah.
We don't have to do everything on the 30th. Prioritize it and push stuff off if the agenda's
Fine.
too big.
I could be totally wrong, Archie, but I thought, they were going to ask us what date's good for us. So if he said, hey, if your next date, whatever, I thought they were going to say, so give them a couple of dates and say, yeah, because they want to kind of try to coordinate it with the towns. I'll tell you for that reason later.
okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.